Yes, everybody, and welcome to High on Homegrown, the cannabis podcast from Percy'sGrowroom.com. I am Macky from the UK, and joining us this week we have Margaret.
Hello, everyone. It's Margaret coming at you from Central Ontario, Canada, host of Bite Me the Show about edibles, and happy to be here today.
Nice. We also have Billy Bonds.
Good evening from Cornwall, where it's now dark because the lights changed due to the times and the clocks.
That's
The
right,
most
and
annoying time of the year in the UK.
it really is the most annoying time of the year in the UK, because you know what also happens around this time of the year every year in the UK? Fireworks. Fucking
Yep.
fireworks.
Really?
God damn. Yeah, it was November the 5th, remember the 5th of November and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Guy Fawkes Night is what it's known as in the States. We call it
Oh.
Bonfire Night or November 5th. It's just, man, and now it's just all the time. People are just blowing stuff up all the time. And it's like, come on, how are fireworks legal and cannabis isn't? I say this every year on the show because it just baffles me. You know, what is going on, man? Gosh.
Can let off a firearm each year and hundreds of them, but you can't smoke a joint.
It's madness,
Right.
isn't it? You can blow your hands off if you want to, but no
Yeah.
one's smoking out on that cannabis now. Gosh.
Yeah, because it's dangerous.
Yeah, because it's dangerous. You might get psychosis. Gosh, drives me crazy. But yeah, it's coming up to Halloween very soon as well, and we're going to do a Halloween special on Thursday. I don't know if Margaret is able to join us or not, but we're just going to chill out, tell some scary stories, and just smoke some weed and chat some shit. Sounds like a good plan to me. Yeah, so come and join us on Thursday, same time, same place. You know where to find us. Yeah, join us there. So what else have we got here? We should talk about some of the news articles we're covering. God damn, some of these news articles are a little bit frustrating. I'll say that. That's all you need to say, really. I've got a couple here. Curaleaf, one of these companies here in the
Thanks.
UK. Yeah, sorry, Billy, did you say something?
No. I didn't say nothing, mate.
Cool. Curaleaf calls on UK government to have stricter regulations on non-industry cannabis. Not like they have a bias or anything. Absolutely ridiculous. And to go along with that is an article that kind of relates to this one as well. We have cannabis sold on streets riddled with mold, lead, E. coli, and salmonella, experts warn. So be careful out there, everybody. Gosh. So, and this is just the propaganda machine. This is Curaleaf telling the people they have sponsored in government that they need to do something about the cannabis. So the government tells the people in the media, you need to say this stuff on behalf of our sponsors, blah, 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 blah. But we won't get into that just yet. You can already tell I'm going to be fucking ranting during that one. Jesus. Then we have a historic medical cannabis deal set to create jobs for Nottingham firm. Okay, so yeah, you can get certain jobs in cannabis. You just have to pay the necessary fee to the necessary person. You all know how it is by now. We have a puff on a joint, then 6 months of forced rehab in a concrete cell. Now, this is one of those stories coming out of the Far East. I think it's Singapore, this story has come out of, where the cannabis laws over there are a bit ridiculous. Crazy shit. And then we have one which I think this one will take up most of the time. We'll get to that one maybe first. We'll cover it first and get it done straight away. But there's going to be 4 states that could potentially legalize cannabis in the 2024 election. So we're going to take a look at some of those. Very interesting. The election is very close now. It's fucking 9 days? 9 days to the US election. It'll be 8 days if you're listening to this when it's released on Monday. So lots of information to go out about the election coming up as well. Very cool, very cool. So that's all the news stories that we'll be covering. We also have the grow guides where we're going to be talking about perpetual growing, which is where you can constantly grow a certain amount of cannabis plants over and over again without actually stopping. So it reduces the time in between harvests and things like that. And because we're in the flowering stage, if you were to, if you're going through the flowering stage now, you want to be considering starting the next grow if you want to perpetually grow. So we'll be covering that in the grow guides. But that's just about everything already wrapped up in 4 minutes. Look at that. Skills. You're supposed to go, yeah, skills, Macky.
Everyone was applauding there. You could hear him in the
Oh, is that what he
audience.
was? Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah,
Noise cancelling stops the applause.
That's what it was. Yeah, you see. Remember, do you know the signs that come up and it flashes on the screen? Applause.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what was going on. You see, and it cuts the mic.
You got the guy at the front of the crowd, like waving his arms up, like, woo.
Yeah. Come on,
Yeah.
come on, applause. Yeah, clapping his hands.
Yeah, Billy, you're out there playing Black Ops 6, man. How is it?
Yeah, it's quite good actually because I haven't really played for ages. I'm enjoying it. I ain't complaining like some of the other people, but I think
All right.
it's so improved over the years from when I've not played it to now. It's really good actually. So the zombies a big improvement. So
Okay.
yeah, I think it's worth it to be honest.
Nice, man. And what have you been up to, Margaret? You've been up to anything interesting? She's on mute or something?
And she is on mute. She's run off
Yeah,
maybe.
I'm sitting here
Ah,
talking to myself,
ah.
obviously. Oh, well, yeah, you missed it all, so sorry.
Oh well, you better not to repeat yourself. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's the first side of madness that is. So
Is it?
Absolutely.
yeah,
Oh,
what we all
No,
smoking
it's
anyway.
talking to yourself,
That's
but that's the first time of madness, right?
oh God, I've been doing that for years.
Yeah.
it's arguing with yourself and losing, which is the problem.
I'm not
Ah,
there yet. I'm
yeah,
not there
that's
yet.
right. I'm definitely not there yet. Yeah. So what you smoking on, Billy? What you got?
I actually have some gelato OG from Seedsman, which is quite nice actually.
Oh,
But
cool.
I have some Bubba cheesecake, which was a freebie from Seedsman when I bought a load of seeds, and it's well nice. It's like bubble gummy and not too cheesy, but it's got a nice bubble gummy to it, and it's just nice. It's really nice. So I'm like, oh yeah, it's a
Nice one.
nice one.
I love that old school bubblegum flavour.
Yeah, so I've been hunting all year for various bubblegum strains, and I found two so far, so I'm happy with that at the minute. So
Beautiful.
the five alive from BSB Genetics and the Bubba Cheesecake from Ali Bongos, Seedsman, sorry, which
Nice.
I got at Ali Bongos. So
What have you got, Margaret? You drinking something nice? You smoking? What's the score today?
I have a little bit of sex bud actually that I'm puffing on in my vape, and I got some edibles too, as per the usual.
Nice. So you actually smoking? Well, vaping at least today.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool, cool.
I assume the sex bud's better than the booth weed, which Katie was on about last time.
Appears to be, yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh. No, I ain't smoking everyone. I got my joint over there. Maybe I'll smoke in the smoke break, but I haven't had anything yet today. I haven't been smoking much this week. I don't know, just haven't felt like it, so I haven't smoked very much. That's the way it goes sometimes. We were discussing it, me and Billy, before the show there. It's like, God damn, we got a cannabis podcast and shit, not smoking any weed. Gosh, it's a bit sacrilege, really, isn't it? Don't you think? I think
Nah,
so. I think
I
so.
think people just do what they want, and they should do what they want and how it works for them. And if that
Hmm.
looks different for the next person, then that's what it is.
Yeah, so it might be a bit more ranty this show. I've noticed that a little bit. If I don't smoke so much, I'm a little bit more ranty. You know, but
Right. The weed
maybe
chills you out a bit, huh?
yeah, yeah. And it's like, mate,
Imagine that.
you shouldn't rant so much. You know, you should be a bit calmer. It's like, shut up, weed. You know,
Yeah.
you know how it is. Gosh. But yeah, lots of interesting things to get to. It's going to be a good Grow Guide session as well. So I hope everybody can hit the like button there. Subscribe if you're new, of course. And yeah, that's about it, isn't it? We're ready to do the news already?
Yeah.
Let's do it, man.
Let's do it. Let's hope this double click ain't being a dickhead. Let's go for the news. Okay, let's get to the meat of things before we even begin and discuss this election that is coming up very soon. So this is on you, Margaret. Do you want to take this away?
Yeah, which one are we starting off with?
The one about the 4 states that are potentially legalizing.
All right. All right. Which was news to me when I saw this article. So there's 4 states that could legalize cannabis in the 2024 election, which is pretty exciting. The 2024 presidential election represents a major opportunity for the next cannabis legalization wave, as 4 states could reform their prohibition laws in this November. Florida, South Dakota, and North Dakota voters will cast ballots on adult use legalization measures, while Nebraskans will decide on a pair of medical cannabis legalization initiatives on election day. Florida, in particular, represents a catalyst for industry growth. Not only is the Sunshine State home to roughly 23 million residents, but the southern US is the least progressive cannabis region in the nation, and Florida could be tipping the domino for legalization. While
Mm-mm.
Florida voters will be attempting to pass an adult use ballot measure for the first time, and the same goes for Nebraska with its medical cannabis initiatives, South Dakota and North Dakota will be attempting to amend failed legalization efforts from the 2022 midterm election. But one common ingredient plays into the likelihood of success for all 4 states this year. Higher voter turnouts for presidential elections are generally viewed as favorable for passing cannabis-related ballot measures by legalization advocates. South Dakota is a prime example of this phenomenon. Voters in the Mount Rushmore state passed an adult use legalization measure with 54.2% majority in the 2020 presidential election before Governor Kristi Noem paved a path to for the Supreme Court to strike down that election result. 2 years later, South Dakota voters rejected a similar adult use legalization measure with only 47% in support during the 2022 midterm elections. Nationwide, 66% of the voting eligible population turned out for the 2020 presidential election, while just 46% did so for the 2020 midterm election, according to the Pew Research Center.
That's pretty good as well. 60%, 66% of voter turnout is good, isn't it? I
That
think
is pretty
compared
good,
to
yeah.
what usually happens.
Yeah. The results for cannabis measures were reflective. All 5 states with cannabis legalization measures in 2020 had majority support on election day, while only 2 of the 5 states have majority support for the respective legalization measures in 2022. And then the article, which is quite lengthy, goes into depth on each of those regions, the Florida, South Dakota, North Dakota, and
Mhm.
Nebraska.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure anybody listening to this show would, who are in those states, will be voting for legalization of cannabis.
Yeah. Is there anybody in the chat who's in any of those areas? That would be
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. Let us know if you're voting against this, everybody. Some people don't like the whole legalization thing. You know, even though it's good for
Yeah.
most people, there's some people out there who are like, nah, fuck legalization. We don't want that. We want decriminalization or something. You know?
I mean, I can appreciate that sometimes because a lot of the times legalization leads to the infiltration of big business into cannabis, and they're often at odds with, the needs and wants of home growers and stuff like that. So, I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, over-regulation can happen and shit like that. Or
Mhm.
obviously Canada with the tax and shit, which
Yeah.
which we was discussing last week. So
Yeah. It can be really hard for small like craft growers and stuff to get into legalization because it just becomes about big business. And then,
Mhm.
yeah.
yeah, that's the only problem, isn't it? All laws, what changes like that, just cater towards big business,
Yeah, because
as
they're the
we
only ones that have the
see.
money to participate in that system. And so I get why people are like, yeah, legalization can kind of suck.
Yeah, but so is uh, restricted cannabis as well. You know, is
Yeah,
you got to pick
yeah,
one side or the other. I think some kind of legalization is the best, but when they have too many restrictions on these things, it just gets ridiculous sometimes. You know,
right.
you can only have 4 plants with 3 ounces and all this crazy shit. Proper legalization and
Yeah.
regulation is what we need, but it doesn't seem as if anywhere really does it well.
Yeah, like I thought maybe Minnesota was because it was brought to my attention by Savons, I think actually in the chat here. I think I saw him in the chat. That you can buy cannabis drinks in Minnesota at like a bar, which I'm like, holy,
Wow.
that's amazing. I would love that
Uh-huh.
here. I'd love to go out and buy a cannabis drink instead of, drinking because hangovers and stuff. But then they're like, but there's no dispensaries.
Mhm.
So like
This
you
is a
Yeah,
just
there
problem.
needs to be consumption lounges, doesn't there? Really, that's the
Absolutely.
biggest issue with
Yeah,
cannabis
consumption
everywhere.
lounges are huge. I think that's something that should definitely be part of every legalization plan, but we don't even have those in Canada, so
No, and
It's
they
mind-boggling to me that someone's not really. Well, obviously, there's a few underground ones about that. There's so no one's not pushing for it because the amount of money that's available in like commercialized sites around like the entire USA, like if you know what I mean, like a bar place, like
yeah.
if you know what I mean, but it's
Mhm.
just a
Mhm.
named brand bar, but instead of it being alcohol, it's a cannabis bar, isn't it? So
It's
to
crazy how
me,
it's not
it's
allowed.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
like as soon as it's legalized, surely there should be consumption lounges. It just seems to make sense. And I think
You'd think like
California's
the
just passed law to start consumption lounges. Well, I think that's the only state to do it legally so far.
They already had
in,
some though, didn't they? Or were they just sort of operating in a quasi-legal
Yeah, I think that would be the case.
Right. Okay.
You'd have a place next door, wouldn't you, selling burgers and pizza and shit, where they just walk out of one smoking venue into the Munchies venue, and you'd earn a
Mhm.
fortune. Like fucking, it's crazy.
Yeah.
All that money and employment going missing.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of employment that would create, and then that would create more employment and tax money. So
Yeah.
it's just ludicrous, really, that they change all these laws, but just forget about the consumer. Again, it's about how the business make money. It's from
Right.
the top
Yeah. It
down
always comes
rather than
down to
the
the
bottom
bottom
up.
line.
Yeah.
Everything's always about the bottom line, which is not always the best way to look at things
No.
because it takes the human element out of it.
And that's
Yeah,
why people are
totally.
skeptical about legalization, you know, because it just
Yeah.
becomes for profit then. And the community gets left behind, it seems.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So do we think that these states are going to legalize? I mean, Florida's kind of interesting because like they said, it's pretty conservative when it comes to that kind of stuff. And it looks
Yeah,
like
you
for
got DeSantis as well, who's the governor of Florida, and
yeah,
he
he's
doesn't
not
like the
big on it.
smell of cannabis, so he doesn't want it legalized. But fucking,
Yeah.
I would
I
say
don't know.
Florida's 50-50, just because a lot of the older
Mm.
population, some of the stories I've seen, have taken to cannabis use for their
Yeah, that's a huge
ailments. So,
market.
and a lot of them they're the conservative ones that would normally vote against and would follow DeSantis. So I'm thinking like a lot of his people who would are going to be voting for it now. So it's like that's a large chunk of his older population who are
Mhm.
the biggest consumers in America, new consumers as such, if you know what I mean. So are all the over 50s. So and they're the ones who would vote normally against it. So to me, it's 50-50 now because he's lost at least, like I'd say, 25% of his core voters there.
Damn.
Sure.
Yeah. It's interesting too. There's a ton of Canadian snowbirds in Florida as well. I wonder if they would influence people the right way because a lot of seniors have really discovered the magic of cannabis for like, managing pain and all that kind of stuff.
And
Yeah,
they have
it
that whole
is.
spring break thing as well, don't they? Where loads of people from all over the USA go down to Florida and Miami and
Yeah.
shit to celebrate over spring break. And a lot of those places that are coming from states, like 23 states or something, illegal recreationally for now for cannabis, something massive like that. So there's a large percentage of the US population that can consume cannabis legally. And when they go down to Florida for spring break, if they're coming from a legal place, they want to consume cannabis as well. So, big market for it. And if they don't legalize it and people still consume cannabis there, then they've got a lot of people to arrest, which is a burden on the system as well. But maybe they want that. Maybe they want to find people. Who knows what these fucking psychopaths are thinking? Yeah.
It says here in this article that in order for it to pass, they'll need 60%. And it also says that you'd have to be 21 years or older to buy, which sounds like their legal drinking age. You could have 3 ounces of flour, 5 grams of concentrate, but it doesn't say anything about home grow. They
Wow.
didn't include home cultivation in this. So you could, home grow's not included.
Stupidness. In my opinion, it needs to be included for anywhere that legalizes recreationally. Home grow should be allowed as well.
It
It's
should be
ridiculous
mandatory,
what it isn't.
shouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, not mandatory.
Right.
I don't think anything should be mandatory in that way.
Well, yeah, if they change cannabis laws, it should be mandatory that they include home grow.
Yeah,
In,
yeah.
if you know what I mean.
In that
Because
aspect,
a business,
definitely, yeah.
a business can't do something that the I can't, if you know what I mean. Like they
Mhm.
are in the UK, as we're showing the news stories.
Yeah, and it's
South
mental.
Dakota, it says needs 50% plus 1.
Mhm.
It would legalize cannabis use, possession, distribution, and home grow for individuals 21 years and older. Proposal establishes the possession limit of 2 ounces of dried flower, 16 grams of concentrate, or 1,600 milligrams of THC. You could grow up to 6 plants for personal use. Individuals could, but no more than 12 plants per household. That's pretty generous from what I've seen in most places.
Fuck them. Fuck them and their stupid fucking plant numbers. Somebody
Right.
mentioned in the chat there, they don't tell you how many tomato plants you can grow, and that's exactly it. It's like they can't
a
do
good
this.
point.
It does my
Right.
fucking head in. Plant number, you can only have 12 plants. You can only have 4 plants per adult. It's like fuck
I know, I
y'all.
think they think that like if they legalize it, everybody's gonna turn their entire house into a grow op or something, which is ridiculous because like 12 plants, that's if they're large, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a joke. Like you have to have the time, energy, and resources to grow those plants.
But if you want to do a pheno hunt and find a nice strain, you might want to grow 100 plants to look for what the best one is. You might want to grow 500. And as long as you're not out there making a tax-free income, then I don't see what the problem is. I know I'm preaching to the
Right.
choir here. I know you guys all agree with that kind of shit. But it just makes me wonder who really makes up these laws. It's like they legalize cannabis and then throw 100 laws into it in the first, after it's legalized, they throw 100 more laws and restrictions onto it, saying you can do this, can't do that. Madness. Just
Yeah, well, here's
legalize
another
it, man.
provision you might not like, speaking of Macky rants, but it would
Uh-oh.
allow employers to restrict an employee's use of cannabis while property owners could regulate the use of cannabis on their property.
See, what does that even mean?
Uh,
It's absolutely ridiculous.
I know.
You're
I'd be like,
triggering
none of
me,
your goddamn
Margaret. You're
business.
triggering.
I thought that would trigger you, but that
Yeah,
seems
she's trying to set
ridiculous.
us off here.
Well, because honestly, like most places, when you go to a workplace, you're supposed to show up sober. I think that's
Yeah,
mostly
That's sort of
absolutely.
standard, didn't it? Yeah, turn up to work
Yeah.
so you can actually do the work.
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
So why they have to put that in there that employers could restrict the employee's use of cannabis? Like, it seems
And how many people
unnecessary.
turn up to work hungover the next day, especially on a Monday morning and
Right.
shit like that? It's fucking loads.
Mhm.
How many? What gets me is how many mums out there drive their children to school after drinking from the night before, and they're probably still technically over the limit.
Right. Yeah.
These things happen, man. Scary.
So it's just like picking on us as normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy target, man. But
North Dakota is also 50% +1, and Nebraska is 50% +1. So it's just Florida that they have to have that 60%.
it's gonna
But
be
if you look at all
interesting.
the regulations and all that, it's always protecting big business rather than, as
Mhm.
you said, rather than
Yes.
helping the actual grower.
Yeah.
Yes.
Protect pharmacy and
You know what I mean? And
shit like
it's
that.
apparently a free market. Oh, fuck,
No, there's no free market.
That's right.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
that's just an
That's a
illusion they
good
try and
joke,
sell
that
us.
is.
Yeah.
Badum.
There you go, yeah.
And speaking of badum, it reminded me. Random tangent, everybody, brace yourselves. You're about to become beatboxers now, everybody. Because I was flicking through Instagram Reels yesterday, and it was just a random one where it's like, if you want to sound like a beatboxer, you just have to say boots and cats, but whisper it. And you go, boots and cats and boots and cats. It's like, oh my God. Oh my God. Boots
That's
and
kind of
cats,
true.
everybody.
Cats and boots.
Although I've seen some
Whoa.
beatboxers online, and they are pretty fucking incredible, and they're
I know,
definitely doing
right?
a little bit more than just boots and cats.
But it's a start, all right?
You do have to start somewhere. It's
You got to
true.
extend your vocabulary as you go along.
Right.
But the boots and
Yeah.
cats is a good way to start. All right, just whisper boots and cats, and you can impress anybody with your beatboxing skills. Random tangent. All right, that's over. Back to weed. All right. Everybody's saying boots and
smoking it
cats
now
now. You
then.
know what I'm saying, Adam? You know what I'm saying? Everybody in the chat just, and they got random people just sitting there to listen on their headphones to the show, and now they got a person in the room looking at them like, "Why are you just saying boots and cats? What are you doing?" And then they start dancing. They're like, "Oh yeah, I know what you did there." Anyway, sorry. Yeah, interesting. But I hope everybody goes out and votes. That's the most important thing. Like one of these articles, not articles, the section of the article here said that the more people that go out and actually vote, the more chances are that it will pass and be legalized. So get out there, man. Get out there and vote on November 5th, everybody, and make sure you register to vote. As well. Some places you have to register beforehand and make sure that you're known that you are
The
going to go out and
5th or
vote.
the 6th? I thought it was the
November
6th.
5th, Tuesday, November 5th.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yes.
don't listen to me. If you're in the States, go find out where you got to vote.
That's right. Get it done, everybody. It's
I'm gonna show up a day late.
and we will be having an election special as well. I think I don't know if we're going to be streaming it live or it's going to be a Zoom call or anything like that. But I am definitely interested in the election, so I'm going to be watching it all live as it all happens anyway. So if anyone wants to come and join us, then you're all always welcome. It's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be a big election this year. Gosh, I don't want to say much more than that because I could go on for ages about this shit. But gosh, it's going to be fun. Let's do one of these from the UK. Let's talk about Curaleaf, everybody. Curaleaf have come out of nowhere over the last few years, and they are the saviors of the cannabis industry here in the UK. We're all able to get nice, fine, high-quality cannabis now from Curaleaf. I'm taking the piss. Not really. These fucking criminals have just gone and bribed their way to the top of government to make sure that they are allowed to grow and sell cannabis, but you are not. You haven't paid the fee. Just shut the fuck up. I'm not gonna go ranty. I'm gonna control myself.
Yeah, don't talk bad about them cunts, mate. It's evil.
You know what I mean? Don't talk
Yeah.
bad about the arseholes that are taking advantage of the people who need cannabis for medicine. See, I'm already getting fucking angry.
Motherfuckers.
Right, so let's read through some of this. This article relates to another one as well, which we'll get to. But let's start off with this one. We've got Curaleaf calls on UK government to have strict out regulations on non-industry cannabis. And pretty much the only cannabis that is considered industry cannabis in the UK right now is the medicinal cannabis, which is pretty much grown by Curaleaf. So, you know, there's a massive conflict of interest here. They're not doing it because they care about us. They're like, oh, those poor people out on the streets are smoking devil cannabis with neem oil on or some shit. They don't give no fuck about us. What they care about is their bottom line, man. What's going into their pockets. That's what they care about. And that is it. Don't get it fucking twisted. Jesus. You see, I'm trying not to rant. But
Selling their fucking irradiated weed as well.
You know what I mean?
Motherfuckers.
God
Cunts.
damn.
Tasteless
With mold in it, you know, there's been loads of cases where customers is what I call them, because they've just gone and bought their medicinal cannabis from, which is just cannabis. You put the word medicinal beforehand, and that doesn't matter. It's still cannabis. You know what I'm saying? But people go out and buy that shit, and it's got no terpenes on it because it's been irradiated to try and prevent mold getting into it and growing, but it still comes moldy anyway. It's low quality shit, man. If seriously, everybody, I know we say it a lot, but I will say it again. If you want the high quality shit, you have to grow your own, and you can learn how to do so by listening to our grow guides, going over to percysgrowroom.com. You can get the information you need, so just grow your own if you want the good shit. You go to these places if you have to, but only if you have to. You can really just grow your own, and you can do better than these guys. But anyway, I'll carry on with the article. Curaleaf International is urging the UK government, probably with a little bit of financial incentive. Curaleaf International is urging the UK government to take immediate action against the rapidly growing online illicit cannabis market because it's cutting into their profits, which is allowing street cannabis to be sold from unregulated and unpoliced websites and platforms. Curaleaf's latest report reveals that illegal online cannabis sales via the open and dark web have risen by 50% in the past 2 years and increased by 67% across open web retailers. Right, now the thing is, it's been legal for medical use for 6 years now here in the UK, since 2018. But in the last 2 years, people have gone online to buy it, and it's increased by 50%. That tells you that there's a problem. Is like, why aren't they just going to get it from Curaleaf? Why? Because it's shit. Because you.
Isn't it also like? Isn't it also like pretty expensive?
Not compared to street
market?
cannabis, really, because where I am, at least, it differs around the country, but not by too much. But you can get 7 grams a quarter of cannabis for about £50. And when you go and buy from these medicinal places, you'll get 10 grams of cannabis for £50. So you get a few grams more. And, you know, I'll rant about it, but realistically, the quality isn't dreadful. It's smokable. It will do the job. You know, it's not great shit though, but if you have problems, say if you've moved to a new area and you've got no way to get cannabis, you know, you don't have the same contacts you have or anything like that, then you could essentially go and, you know, go get a private clinic and all that kind of shit and go and buy the cannabis from there. It's an option, but it's always better to just grow your own. But I just find it shocking how this is risen by 50% in the last 2 years when essentially it's available from buying it from these clinics. And it's because they're shit. They're not providing the cannabis that people want, really. So people go elsewhere and they're able to buy better cannabis online, probably for a cheaper price. But I don't know. I am a home grower, so I don't need to go buy cannabis off the internet, you know? But anyway.
I've got the price list here if you want it.
Yeah, go for it. What you got, Billy?
Yeah, right. So what it is, they name their stuff like names like Curaleaf T20 because it's got 20% THC, 1% CBD, and you've got T21, T7, C7, which has CBD, THC. So what they're called is like lavender cake, which is £6, high silver, which is £6. The lavender cake is a super skunk crossed with Afghani and.
But what about the psychosis?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Super skunk, which is 20% plus, which means it's like a proper psychosis skunk, which is what they keep going on about. And so I mean, and these are selling it to pharmacies. Are selling it. Next one is a sativa hybrid, which is called High Silver, which is 21%. You've got another one called Tripoli, which is 20% again. You got another one. They do CBD buds and a 1-to-1 ratio. So the CBD is 1% THC, 40% CBD. You got 7%,
All right, Billy.
7%.
That's enough, man. It's turning it into a little bit of an advertisement for Curaleaf here. Calm down a little bit.
No,
son.
but yeah, but I'm saying this is what's but their prices are £6, £7, and £8 a gram. To buy an ounce of their full, their highest price is £224 for an ounce. So that's far higher than what you'd buy on the street. If you know what I mean, and you get better quality for 200 quid for an ounce.
Yeah,
a lot of people will be paying like 180.
but there's problems with street weed, which we'll get to on the next article. But Laszlo just mentioned something in the chat there as well. There's 80k plus medical UK cannabis patients. How many on the NHS? 3 or 4, and that's about right, Laszlo. Legitimately, 3 or 4 people on the NHS getting their cannabis, and the rest of them have to go to the private clinics and pay money for it. When we have a huge cost of living crisis in the UK, and people can't afford to do that, so it's all fucked. It's all bullshit. Anyway, we'll carry on with the article
in Portugal as well.
Is it really? And then just shipped here?
Yep. So like shipping on top as well. It's stupid, isn't it?
We'll carry on here. This is largely being driven by consumers buying illegal cannabis to seek relief from health conditions like chronic pain, insomnia, and anxiety. 73% of online purchasers, many of whom could be eligible for legally prescribed medical cannabis, but they don't want to apply for it because you have to pay for a consultation fee as well, which is like 50 quid. People don't have money to throw away like that. Not nowadays in the UK. Curaleaf's report, developed in partnership with Manchester Metropolitan University, also found that illegal cannabis is often contaminated with dangerous substances such as mold, lead, and synthetic cannabinoids, posing a severe health risk to the 1.8 million people in the UK who use the product to self-treat medical conditions. So that's quite a lot of people, 1.8 million. There's about 70 million people in the UK, so it's a fair percentage. But again, are they trying to suggest that their cannabis doesn't come with mold?
Right?
Because it does. We've seen it. Now, I'm not sure about the lead in synthetic cannabinoids, because you would assume that this stuff is being tested to make sure it has no heavy metals and synthetic cannabinoids in it.
Because they have to. Because at the end of the day, they're still a large company, and we all know that their main criteria or metric is the bottom line. So, if they could sell something and get away with it, would they do it? Probably.
Absolutely. They don't care about our health. This is the thing.
No.
They're just trying to bullshit us to make us think the only way that we can get safe cannabis is by going to them. Where that is not the case. The only way to get safe cannabis is to grow it yourself. That's it. There is no other way. Yeah, it doesn't matter where you're buying it from. I mean, most of the time you might get good shit, but there's the chance that it's grown with heavy metals and dodgy nutrients, or it's got PGRs in it, or synthetic cannabinoids. There's so many things that can go in there and make the cannabis bad for you. But if you grow your own, then you know what's gone into it. You know if it's moldy. You know what I mean? This is the only way you can be sure. If you've grown that cannabis from seed to harvest, that's the only way you're going to know if it's safe or not. So bear that in mind. But this article goes on. I'll read this last paragraph here. Juan, what's that, how you pronounce that name? Juan, and it is like a Mexican name. Juan Martinez, head of Curaleaf International, stated, while the online market for illicit cannabis is growing year on year, it remains completely unregulated, and the UK already has a legal medical cannabis market in place which adheres to the rigorous safety and quality standards. Our research has found alarmingly high levels of contamination in illegal cannabis, putting consumers' health at serious risk. And like I said, everybody, they don't give a fuck about our health. They're bullshitting. If the UK government is truly committed to safeguarding public health and supporting legitimate businesses, it must do more to improve patient access to regulated medical cannabis and enforce stricter regulations on illegal sales. Now, again, listen to what they're saying there, right? I'll repeat that line again. It must do more to improve the patient's access to regulated medical cannabis. And that's where you know they're bullshitting you, because it's not about regulated medical cannabis. It's about regulated cannabis. It's not just about medical shit. If
they
people
were
want
really
to,
that
sorry, Margaret.
concerned, they could decrim.
Exactly. Where all cannabis can be tested to make sure that it's safe then, and not just this bullshit medical stuff. Like, if you're using it for medical stuff, it's okay, and if you're not using it for medical shit, then go fuck yourself and go smoke the poison. I'm not saying it's poison, I'm exaggerating a little bit there, but that's essentially what they're saying. If they really cared, they would be encouraging the UK government to make sure that it's properly legalized and regulated for the safety of the consumer. They are bullshitting us by pretending that they fucking give a shit, telling the government that they need to fix things up so more customers come their way. That's all. It's not about the safety of the consumer. It's about more customers for them. So yes, rant over. That's what we're going to say about that article there. And just before we because I want Billy to do his next, but I want to go on to this one briefly here as well, because this is kind of related to it. Like I said, we have, and this is from the Mirror, so get your salt, everybody, and add a very large pinch. We have cannabis sold on streets riddled with mold, lead, E. coli, and salmonella, experts warn. And this is it. The study found that 90% of the samples seized by police in Greater Manchester and Northumbria were contaminated. 90 fucking percent.
That seems high.
Yeah, you know what I said about that salt?
Yeah.
Have that fucking
that
salt.
Seems really high. Like E. coli and salmonella. That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't even. I'm trying to think of ways in which 90% can happen. It's like, have they gone out, just chopped down a load of plants, left it somewhere, not giving it proper airflow, so it's gone moldy, and then tested that? But even that, it's not going to be a fucking huge percentage.
How do you get salmonella in your cannabis?
That's what I was thinking as well.
Did they throw like raw chicken in the bag or something, or
there's some raw sausages or something? What's going on? How's salmonella getting in there?
Yeah.
Weird. UK street cannabis, this is what they're calling it. UK street cannabis has been found to contain dangerous levels of mold, yeast. I'll carry on. Mold, yeast, lead, E. coli, and salmonella. The research was conducted by Manchester Metropolitan University in partnership with Curaleaf. Again, there they are.
Oh, that seems suspect.
Follow the money. It's like, we're going to give you the money, Manchester Metropolitan University. Go and find some salmonella on this cannabis. You couldn't make this shit up, man. They call us criminals. Jesus. The research was conducted by Manchester Metropolitan University in partnership with Curaleaf Clinic, who analysed 60 samples seized by police in Greater Manchester and Northumbria. An astonishing 90% of the tested samples were contaminated with either mold or yeast, some 8% with lead and 2% with salmonella and E. coli. Further alleged independent testing, also discovered highly unsafe synthetic cannabinoids, including spice and K2, in 27% of samples. Wow, that's a hefty amount right there. Health experts have issued warnings that this could result in respiratory problems, neurological damage, and gastrointestinal infections for users. Those shocking results were unveiled following a study of 500 drug users commissioned by a medical cannabis clinic, Curaleaf Clinic. Yeah. The study found that almost 2/3 of illegal cannabis is purchased by those attempting to manage medical conditions such as anxiety, which is 49%, depression, 49%, and chronic pain, 28%. A study of 2,000 adults revealed that breaking news: British Airways axes all flights from major airport. Yeah, gosh, just breaking news there, everybody at the bottom. I'll edit that out. Just flashing up. I don't care. Jesus, I'm not going anywhere right now. A separate study of 2,000 adults revealed that only 46% are aware that medical cannabis is legal and available on specialist prescription, as over 1 in 10 have resorted to the dark web, online retailers, and even QR code stickers left by dealers to acquire the substance. Madness, man. Come on. And still 6 years after we've had the legalization of medical cannabis here in the UK, only 46% are aware that medical cannabis is legal. Madness.
Right.
Madness.
This whole thing, like even the language they use, like these shocking results were unveiled following a study of 500 drug users commissioned by a medical cannabis clinic. It's got to be true.
Madness.
It's got to be true. When you read
it's
it like
propaganda.
that.
It's fucking propaganda. I mean, what else is it? You know what I mean? They're feeding us bullshit information with an obvious bias to it and expect us to just fucking believe it. They're going on like they care about the health of the consumer, but it's clear that they don't. They just want the money from us. It absolutely drives me fucking crazy, man. There's not much left of this one. Dr. Simon Eridge, research director at the clinic, warned it is crucial for consumers to be aware of the hidden dangers in illegal cannabis, especially as so many people are buying it to manage health issues, which could be exacerbated by this hazardous substances. Fuck off.
You know what they could do then? They could set up, like the government could set up places where people could test their cannabis to make sure it's free of all these contaminants.
No,
If they were real
you're gonna have to
concerned.
stop talking all this sense here, Margaret. We'll get the stream shut down.
Yeah,
But
got to
If they're
make
that's
sure
it.
there's
that
no.
concerned,
That's it. If they're so concerned, they could come out and they could, like, Curaleaf themselves could set up places where you could have your cannabis tested, and then they could show you, like, oh look, this is infected. If you bought from us, you wouldn't be having this infected cannabis, and then test their shit as well, because I guarantee it's exactly the fucking same. Damn, maybe not exactly the same. Maybe they do go through stringent tests. Whether they follow them all and stick to the guidelines is another thing. But why not do that? Why not make people aware of it in that way? Why not do better and go and inform people of what's going on? Make sure that they all know that medical cannabis is legalized and shit. Do better. Do better. But instead, you just want to fucking bribe the government to make sure that they do it on your behalf. And the government are not capable of doing anything properly. I don't know if you've all noticed that. He added, the law changed 6 years ago, so there is a legal, regulated, and quality tested alternative for those suffering with diagnosed chronic illnesses which haven't responded to conventional therapies. Many people are putting themselves at risk when they don't need to. That's right, we don't need to. We don't need to. But the government forces us to. If it was properly legalized and regulated, all of these problems would not be here. Now, people are not only putting themselves at risk by going out and consuming cannabis that could be infected with all this stuff, but they have to go to the legacy market, which in most cases you're going to buy cannabis from good people, but in some cases you're getting the cannabis from gangs which put people at extra risk. They can be robbed, they can be beaten, they can have their cannabis stolen from them, their money stolen from them, they can have their address found out, have the door kicked off. There's so many things that could potentially happen when you have to go and deal with the legacy market. And the government puts us at risk by not solving these problems, by properly legalizing and regulating. It's the only way out. But these people ignore that, it's absolutely ridiculous, man. Despite the dangers, 18% of illegal cannabis users are oblivious that the products they buy may contain hazardous contaminants, as an alarming 66% can't identify mold contaminated cannabis. I'd say it was more than that.
so
Yeah.
it says here too that Curaleaf initiated a public health campaign. Did that include educating consumers like how to identify mold in
Mm.
their cannabis? Because you could see it most of the time with a $10 scope or something, but I
Mm-hmm.
suspect that's not included in their public health campaign.
No. The public health campaign is, oh, you should just buy cannabis from us because our cannabis is medical
Right.
cannabis.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course it is. They're not
Yeah.
going to teach people to like be able to identify mold in their weed because
Mm-mm.
that doesn't help them out.
We got this. The clinic has issued billboards displaying the study's findings in known drug dealing areas based on data gathered through a Freedom of Information's request. So far, an ad van showcasing the billboards has visited locations in Tower Hamlets and Lambeth in London and is set to travel to Manchester, Piccadilly, and Merseyside. Echoing strategies employed by street dealers, biodegradable QR code stickers directing individuals to crucial information on the perils of unregulated cannabis are also positioned in these hotspots. So we've seen this before as well, where drug dealers or people who are selling cannabis are putting QR codes over certain QR codes on bus stops, for example. So if people do scan it, they'll go to their website where they can buy cannabis instead. So now Curaleaf has borrowed their strategy and just sticking QR codes over their stickers. So it's just it's just like it's gang warfare, but one
Drug
of the
dealer
particular
warfare,
gangs,
innit? Yeah.
yeah, that's it. It's like, but one of the particular gangs have been able to pay the government so they don't get prosecuted by the police. Now the police are on their side. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Yep.
they have employed the government's gang to go out and shut down any gang that competes with them, or any person, just us normal people who grow some cannabis for personal use. The police will come off, kick off our fucking doors, and arrest us because we're providing ourselves with cannabis when we should be buying it from the people who have paid the government the necessary fee. You know what I'm saying? It
If
enrages me.
if you replace the word with cartel or mafia to the
Mm-hmm.
government, same
Mm-hmm.
thing, innit? That's what they do.
And I
It's
also don't want to buy when there's like one option. Like if they're talking about buying from like Curaleaf, is there anybody else to buy from, or is it just Curaleaf?
No,
There are a
there's
couple
other
others, but
clinics as
yeah,
well, but you all essentially pointed in this direction. And if
Right.
it's like we mentioned earlier, if it's a free market, there should be competition, so these
Mm-hmm.
companies can battle against each other, and the best will remain, and the shit ones will go. But when it's only the government, when the government just allows a few companies to do it, then we end up with shit like this. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. But
Agreed.
nothing's going to change anytime soon by the look of things. Well, maybe we've got some budget coming up very soon, and the government right now in the UK is just doing everything to get every tiny little bit of tax they can from everybody. They're even talking about taxing pensioners more and shit. It's absolutely disgusting. So if they're that desperate for tax money, then they might be able to see that a good way of bringing in some tax revenues to properly legalize and regulate cannabis. If you legalize, regulate cannabis, and open up some consumption lounges, then how much money is going to be brought in? Billions a year. Billions. So do the fucking right thing, man, and legalize cannabis. Enough said. What are you saying, Billy? Let's. Sorry, is there anything anybody wants to say about this before we move on? You got anything to say about this, Margaret? You want to go on a quick rant?
I feel like I've been ranting during this entire article.
Yeah, it's madness, man.
Yeah, because honestly, that rate of like 90% of cannabis is contaminated seems ridiculously high. And mold is a legitimate concern. I don't really know enough about yeast or lead in cannabis to really comment on that, but like
Hmm.
teach people how to look for mold in their weed. I don't know if you're
Yeah.
really concerned about like public health, that would be prudent, but that's not really what they're about. So
Mm-mm.
that's not what they're doing.
Grow your own, everybody. What are you saying, Billy? Anything to add to this one?
yeah. I think we've talked about cure cunts enough now.
That's right.
That's,
That's
yeah.
right. Only use them if it's a last resort, everybody. That's my opinion on it. Don't support these fucking companies. Anyway, so what we got now, Billy? You've got one here about some shit going on in the UK too, right?
Yeah, something obviously slightly related here. So the historic medical cannabis deal set to create jobs for Nottingham firm. So as normal, a multi-million pound partnership between Nottingham medical cannabis provider, which is this time it's Relief,
Mm-hmm.
and the leading domestic producer of medical cannabis has become the UK medical cannabis sector's largest to date. The deal will see the Surrey-based glass farms provide Relief with 145 kilos of medical grade cannabis. So it's one firm providing another firm with medical cannabis grown in the UK. So like drug dealer to drug dealer. Like, so Relief is the largest medical cannabis provider in the UK. The company's patient base is expected to exceed the current size of the entire UK sector, which is estimated about 45,000 patients. So currently they see about 100 patients a day. The firm says a partnership with Glass Farms ensures that they're going to be a consistent UK-based supply chain of high-quality medical cannabis. And as we say, high quality, I say with like fucking brackets there, like
Mm-hmm. Get your
fucking
salt out for
that's
that one as well.
bullshit.
High
Yeah,
quality by what standard?
innit?
Mm-hmm.
I would replace high quality with booth weed, with
Yeah.
irradiated booth weed, which which addresses the prescription reliability issues that have plagued the industry since the hindered maturation of the other businesses. So basically, because everything's imported by other few firms, then obviously they're going to have trouble because it's all got fucking mold and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that's what they're saying. Because we've had issues and we haven't got enough weed to sell, then we need to grow our own in this country and buy it. So that's what they're doing now.
That's what you should be doing
Literally.
anyway.
Yeah, but now they're allowed to do it because they've just partnered with someone else. So like all the boys with their clubs have shaken hands in their little dormitory places where they do funny things with pigs. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So it's the largest UK deal in history, which underlines a growing recognition of the medical cannabis and the legitimate healthcare solution. Again, like the legitimate healthcare solution, underlining a bit more like underlining their fucking profits more than anything. Because as we said, they don't care about our health; they care about their profits, which is why they're partnering up to create like the biggest sellers of
Mm-hmm.
a
Right. I'm not
black
really
market
clear
drug,
why,
really.
like, why do they have to partner with Glass Farms? Why can't Glass Farms just bring it to market?
Because they're just the growers. and
They're
it's
just the
easier.
growers.
They're just the
Ah,
growers, and they want to pass it on to someone else to sell. So then it's easier, less costs involved, isn't it, for both of
Yeah,
them?
probably different licensing and shit like that, innit? You
but it
can't have
sounds
one
like
Yeah,
license
more
here.
profit. Plus,
is
it's the
it
UK, so
it's
Mm.
gonna cost the consumer or the medical patient in the end if
yeah. And
more
who gives
hands
a
that touch
fuck?
this
Like
stuff.
that,
This
it's
is it.
gonna
They don't care about that.
not gonna affect my profit, though, is it? So
Mm.
No, so they don't give a
that's
shit.
all they
Once
think. Yeah,
again,
exactly. Yeah, once again, what do they care? Yeah.
yeah.
So
Seems to be the
they
theme of this episode.
what they say, cutting edge of the AI and robotic automation in the cultivation of medical cannabis, or in other words, they're going to use a load of fucking DWP like shit.
So if
Isn't it?
yeah, which also says that there is like the biggest deal ever and it's going to create jobs, but they're using AI. So how long till they cut said jobs so that they can
Yeah,
save money
exactly.
by using AI?
That's what it says. Yeah, want to create jobs in the industry. It's like, nah, mate.
Right.
Like you said, AI,
Yeah.
fuck you.
Cutting edge AI
Profit,
and
profit,
robotic
profit.
You know,
automation does
they get
not
the
sound
job
like
so they can
jobs for
the
people.
people working can train the AI, and then when it's sufficient, it will
Right.
get rid of everybody, and the AI can do it. All about the
Exactly.
bottom
Innit?
line. They don't give a fuck
Grow
about us,
in it.
man.
All they want to do is grow their new strain, irradiated booth, and then sell it at profit,
Exactly.
and then that's it.
Substantial profit as well. You know,
Yeah,
'cause it's ridiculous. The reason why cannabis costs what it does here in the UK is because there's crime involved in it. But when you've got these companies who can grow a shitload of cannabis, why are they still charging street prices? You know what I mean? It makes no fucking sense,
Right.
man. It's extortion. They they are the only suppliers. You can't supply yourself, and you're not allowed to go and get it from anywhere else. Otherwise, it's illegal. You have to go to them. Otherwise, you're going to be prosecuted for it. I mean, it is extortion. It just sounds like it's like mob mentality. You know, like the mob. It's madness, man.
It's like a big bad
yeah.
wolf in the chat said can of Amazon. Sounds a lot like that. Because
It's just
Amazon, no.
it's traditional Al Capone stuff, isn't it? Really,
Yeah.
Which is pretty much
Amazon.
the only reason why Al Capone was as big as he was because of fucking prohibition as well. But it was alcohol
Prohibition.
instead of cannabis, so it's the same shit. It's the same shit, just different products.
Right.
Like they don't learn from their mistakes in the past. But I'm not going to carry on ranting. Sorry, Billy, you were carrying on.
No, that's it. Pretty much, that's the end of the article. It's just we've signed a deal and making loads of money. Fuck you. That's the article.
This whole episode has been a look at these arsehole UK government bastards, you know. But we have it bad. We have it bad in the UK, but still, there are places that have it worse, such as the article that Margaret is going to cover now. You want to go on to this one from
Oh.
Singapore, Margaret?
Yeah, this one's depressing. But anyway, this is from the BBC. A puff
Salt
on a
again,
joint,
everybody. Salt.
then 6 months of forced rehab in a concrete cell. Kim, and there's a star beside that, so I suspect her name has been changed for privacy, is a young professional who started using cannabis when family life became messy. Things improved, but her drug habit stuck. I love how they refer to it as a drug
I know,
habit.
right?
That's telling. And by then, her social circle was primarily made up of people who also used. With a reliable local supplier of weed, Kim's friends asked her if she could get some for them. That's what I did, Kim says. I never marked up the price in any way because this was friendship. It's like I'm helping you to purchase something that we both use anyway. Singapore, where Kim lives, has some of the harshest drug laws in the world. If you sell, give, deliver, administer, transport, or distribute narcotics, that's drug trafficking. And the law also presumes you're a trafficker if you possess drugs in quantities that cross certain weight thresholds. Kim's life unraveled very fast. One of the friends she sourced cannabis for was caught by the state's Central Narcotics Bureau. Kim was named as the supplier of the marijuana and picked up two. After the authorities trawled through her phone, another friend was arrested and Kim was charged with drug trafficking. I was racked with horror, she says. To have charges of trafficking leveled at me, that was just overwhelming, and I felt complete and utter fear about what was going to pan out for me. Cannabis for recreational use has been decriminalized in many places around the world. In the US, 24 states have legalized it, while cannabis is illegal in the UK. Punishments for its possession have plummeted in recent years. In Singapore, if you're found with 15 grams, you're assumed to be trafficking. And with 500 grams or more, which is basically just over a pound. The death penalty is mandatory.
Mandatory and shit.
Fuck.
Why buy a pound
Mandatory.
of weed? That's
That's
like,
what I
mental.
yield out of my fucking
I
tent.
keep eating.
More than that. From one grow, you got the 4 plants in a 4x4, you're getting 500 grams pretty easily. That's
Right.
death sentence.
Yeah,
Wow.
you're trafficking with 15 grams. Like, yeah, that's a half ounce.
Wow.
Right. It's a controversial policy, and there have been several recent cases. The most recent execution of a 64-year-old on a heroin charge took place on October 16th.
Fucking hell.
The Singaporean government won't tell the BBC how many people are currently on death row. Singapore's death penalty becomes mandatory in drug cases involving 15 grams of heroin, 30 grams cocaine, 500 grams cannabis, and 250 grams methamphetamine. Kim's not facing execution, but she could be looking at a lengthy prison term. The minimum sentence would be 5 years. The worst case scenario would be up to 20 years. While Kim awaits judgment on trafficking charges, her friends have already been dealt with, but they weren't prosecuted. Classed as drug consumers, not traffickers, they faced very different treatment. They were sent to the state-run drug rehab center for 6 months each. When anyone's caught using an illicit substance in Singapore, they're assessed as low, medium, or high risk. Only those deemed at low risk of reoffending are allowed to stay at home, where they're monitored in the community. Everyone else, even a first-time offender, is sent for compulsory rehab. Rehabilitate. I can't even say that right now.
Rehabilitation.
Right, that's it. There's no private residential rehab in Singapore, no mooching around in fluffy bathrobes and then returning to your own ensuite room. The Drug Rehabilitation Center, DRC, is a vast complex run by Singapore's prison service, which makes sense because this is incarceration by any other name. There's barbed wire, a control room, and CCTV everywhere. Guards patrol the walkways. In December 2023, 3,981 Singaporeans were inmates, about 1 in 8 of them women. Institution S1 houses around 500 identically dressed male inmates, most first or second time drug offenders. A cell accommodates around 7 or 8 men. There are 2 toilets and a shower behind a high waste wall. There are no beds. The men sleep on thin rush mats on a concrete floor. And a detainee will spend at least 6 months here, even if they're a casual rather than addicted drug user. While it is rehabilitation, it is still a very deterrent regime, says Supt Raveen Singh. We don't want to make your stay too comfortable. It sounds like they've definitely achieved that goal. The men spend up to 6 hours a day in a classroom on psychology-based courses. The aim is to motivate inmates to want to stay away from drugs, to renew their lives without them, and to address negative thinking regarding drugs, says Lau Kwan Mai, Deputy Director for the Correctional Rehabilitation Service. They teach us a lot about how to manage our triggers for using drugs, says John, who is in his late 20s and close to the end of his 6-month stay. John has a history of using methamphetamine and is one of the inmates' prison authorities that they selected to talk to the BBC. Meth, also commonly known as ice or crystal, is a powerful, highly addictive stimulant and the most commonly abused drug in Singapore and the region.
Wow.
Earlier
Well, yeah,
this
because you
year-
might as well make it worth it, you know? If you're going
I
to take a chance
guess.
of going fucking to prison for all these drugs, you might as well fucking smoke meth or something. What the fuck?
But that means, like, I mean, you could be smoking meth, you could be doing heroin, you could be smoking joints, and you're still going to end up in this 6 months prison cell under the guise of rehabilitation, which sounds like it's just a lot of propaganda.
Wow, man. I suddenly feel bad about ranting.
What would what was it at the very beginning? Like, that article goes on for quite a bit longer, but just
Mhm.
the list of things that is considered, where did I see that? It was near the beginning. If you sell, give, deliver, administer, transport, or distribute narcotics, that's trafficking. So if you're like, hey, here's a joint, enjoy, well, you're a drug trafficker in Singapore.
Wow.
And that sounds like that's what happened to this woman that they started the article out with. She was just like, well, I'm scoring weed for myself. Do you want some? So she, sells it to her friends for the same price she bought it for, but now she's a drug trafficker, which
Wow.
is crazy. It's just, and of course, if you have a pound of it, you're going to be, I guess they death by hanging. Is that how they do it there typically?
Yeah, probably. I think so because there was that guy. Remember that guy from Singapore? We covered it sometime last year, where all he had, he wasn't even in possession of any drugs. He had a phone number that was known where he could get cannabis from, and he was sentenced to death for that. It was something
Right.
along those lines. So it's the drug laws out there are absolutely fucking astonishing, man. Much worse than the UK, of course. And I know I complain about the way it is in the UK because it's fucked. But this is even more fucked. It doesn't excuse what's going on in the UK, but at least it's not as bad as this. This is absolute madness.
But
Death
as I read
penalty?
this, one thing that stands out is that honestly, it's still not a deterrent. People are still doing it. It says the drugs that's used most is meth.
Hmm.
Uh, so none of these like death penalties or 6-month mandatory stays in prison like rehab centers is still not preventing anybody from going out and getting the drugs that they want.
If there's a market for it, people are gonna sell it. That's the way it goes, isn't it? If there's
Yeah.
a demand for it, people are gonna want it, regardless of ridiculous laws they can throw in place and be like, oh look, we'll fucking send you, we'll kill you if you have this much cannabis. It's like, yeah, but I don't expect to get caught. I'm just gonna smoke this one joint. Oh man, tragic, tragic. It's shocking to think
Yeah.
about people are still living like this anywhere in the world.
Yeah, it does seem really archaic,
Yeah,
honestly.
I assume that alcohol is legal in Singapore, so you can go out and get drunk as much as you
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, and
Mm,
they're pretty heavy drinkers in certain parts of Asia. I don't know if they are in
mm,
Singapore, but some parts of Asia, their drinking is, I guess, the thing.
fucking madness. What else can you say, eh? I mean, this is quite a long article, anyway. I'm just scrolling through it. Yeah, it's fucking
Yeah.
what? God damn, you
Yeah,
had me at death penalty.
I know. Well, because it seems so shocking. Like it's like, are we in 2024 or what year is this?
2023 maybe.
Well, I mean, like the fact that they even have the death penalty for any kind
Hmm.
of drug-related
Oh right,
charges,
yeah,
it's
yeah. I know what you mean. But there's a
pretty-
little note at the bottom there, little asterisk, and it says all names have been changed. So yes, you are right. This
yeah.
is
So
this
Kim
is
and
not
John
Kim.
that were referred to
That's right.
were names have been changed, but
Hmm. For their safety, you know.
right. No, they're in the Singaporean prison system, so who knows what kind of
I know
safety
it's
they
not a
enjoy.
prison system. It's rehabilitation, Margaret. It's
Except it's
rehabilitation, not a
run by the
prison.
prison
Mm.
system. This one and the
Ridiculous, isn't it?
same.
A rose
You
by
don't even
any
get a
other name and
bed.
all that. Fuck.
You
You don't
get
even
a
get a
mat.
bed. Gosh.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal.
Yeah. So, though we do complain, everybody, we do know that there's and it can always be worse. It can always be worse, but
It's
still.
crazy too that we live in a world where like it's legal in some places, it's kind of like tolerated in other places, and
Hmm.
some places you could be hung for it.
Madness, isn't it?
It is
Makes no
very
sense,
much so.
man. Wow. Baffled. I'm baffled by that last article there. Gosh. It was all going so well. Now I'm just like, fuck. That's fuck. Now it just seems when you get carried away and get angry about all these stupid laws in the UK, seeing this, it kind of puts it all into perspective. But still, there's so much fucking going on. Things need to change, man, all over the world. But yeah, good articles, and that's all of them already. Now that's all of the news articles there. And of course, if you do see any news articles you want us to cover on next week's show, everybody, we do like it when you send them to us. So do feel free to send them to us. But do we have any forum news and stuff like that to cover this week? I mean, it's coming up to the end of the month, so we have the Halloween stream on Thursday, but we also have competitions over at Percy's. We have the Halloween competition over at Percy's that you need to enter before the end of Halloween there. We also have Plant of the Month, of course, which needs to be entered before the end of October as well. So get on that shit if you ain't already in those competitions. So it's time for some positivity. Give shit away, Macky. I don't think we're planning on doing any snail races today. I hadn't planned on any. I've got a long list of postage that I need to get out, so I don't really want to make that list any longer until I've sent all of this stuff out. So I'll get that done first. So maybe on the Halloween stream. Join us for the Halloween stream. We might give some shit away. Any other news on the forum? I don't think so. Good Patreon session the other day. We had, because on the last Friday of every month, if you are a Patreon, then we have a session in the Zoom room where we just chat loads of shit about whatever comes to mind. And yeah, good session, man. So thanks to all of those guys who came to join us for the Patreon session. It was a good one. Anything to add for Bite Me there, Margaret? Anything to add on your side?
No, not really. Just go listen to Bite Me, the show about edibles on your favorite podcasting platform.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and we had a good interview this week with David Bean and stuff as well. He came along, and that was released on Wednesday. So go and check that out if you haven't already. It was a good interview.
Cool.
Yeah, good
Yeah,
guy.
I like listening to his podcast too.
Yeah, right. It's a good podcast. Lots of people listen to it, so go and check it out, everybody.
Mhm.
But that's about it, really. I think that's all. Should we go on to the smoke break now? Anything to add, Billy? You got anything to add here?
No, man. Cool. Come on.
Sweet. Let's go smoke break then. Oh no, it's a double click. Doesn't fucking freak out now. Gosh. I'm gonna get a new mouse this week. It's decided. It's done. I won some Buttercup, some Bud Trainer on Friday. Nice, Mad Dog. Congrats. Nice. Now, lots of Halloween competitions out there, like pumpkin competitions. You see them all over Instagram and X and all of this shit now. Lots of shit going on for Halloween. It's cool. But, once Halloween's out the way, Christmas starts coming in. Gosh.
Man.
Nearly there. Near at my Mariah Carey season, everybody. Yeah.
Just
absolute-
Mariah Carey season.
Yeah, Mariah Carey season is coming.
Not in my
Gosh.
house.
Yeah. It doesn't matter about in your house. It's when you go shopping, when you go anywhere. It's just
True.
spammed.
I'm more of a
Gosh.
Michael Bublé kind of person.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Diana
Jeez.
Krall. They're both Canadian. They have great Christmas albums for
No,
creating
they
that
don't.
fun.
There
They
is
do,
no great
though.
Christmas album,
They
Margaret.
do. Only for 1 month, for like 3 weeks of every year. I listen to a little bit of like Christmassy, snowy winter songs. It's nice.
Oh gosh. Yeah, each to their own, I say. Each to their
But
own.
no Mariah Carey.
I like Christmas time at Christmas time, but the problem is here in the UK, it starts in September, and it's pretty much 3-4 months of the year is just Christmas here in the UK, and I'm just, I'm coming to the age where I've done it enough times for it to be fucking boring now. Can't we do something different? Can't we make Christmas a biannual thing? Fuck. Every year, 3 months of every year. Oh God, Backblast says Alvin and the Chipmunks. The Alvin and the Chipmunks Xmas album was lit, Macky. Yeah, Backblast. Sorry, my apologies. I agree. Yeah, that one was great. And the Smurfing Christmas. Remember the Smurfs Christmas album?
Did they
I'm
have
only
a Christmas
joking.
album too?
Yeah, man, it's so bad. Oh God, I'm getting
That I
fully
never
triggered
listened to.
now talking about all this shit. Gosh.
Don't forget about the Cliff Richard albums.
Oh my God. And can you believe that guy's still alive? What's he, like 105 now or something?
All the cocaine preserved him.
I suppose, yeah. We get Mariah Carey. Hams came out this week in supermarkets. Yeah, it's happening. I've seen it all over the supermarkets now. And I noticed this year, and it hasn't happened before, but this year specifically, Halloween started at like the start of September. There was shit being sold all over. People wearing Halloween clothes at the start of September and shit. So maybe because the economy is doing so bad, because the economy is doing bad, they might not tell you that, everybody, but there's a reason why there's lots of companies just shutting down and going to administration. But, they don't want to come across as if they're doing a bad job of it, so they don't tell us about it. But they just, you can see that they start these festivals earlier just to try and keep the economy running. Like, spend money. Look, here's some spider webs. Come on. Don't you like Halloween?
Spend your money on stuff that you'll put in a box and store for another year until next year.
Exactly. Oh, the economy grew 6% in October. Oh, yeah. Because everybody's buying fucking pumpkins and shit. Jeez.
Right.
Let's not got started on that. Look
The
at me.
economy grew for somebody, but it doesn't seem to be for regular people. But
Bad time.
But you know what I do? If you're out shopping, here's my trick. Here's my little piece of advice. You put in headphones and you listen to a podcast. Like maybe High on Homegrown, Bite Me the Show about edibles, maybe Weed History. You know, there's lots of options, and then you don't hear the Mariah Carey. And
No,
if you want to listen to the little Christmas music at home while you're wrapping presents or whatever, then that's your choice.
indeed, indeed.
Yeah.
Can't say any better than that, really. But this is why I have noise cancelling headphones. And when I do go shopping with the missus, and if there is Christmas music playing, I will have them. It's like she tells me to bring my headphones now. You know, it's like, don't forget to bring your headphones. And on the odd occasion, like last year, because the Christmas music hasn't started yet, but last year, there was a couple of times where I didn't bring my headphones. It's like, no, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. And then I regretted it so much. You know, 'cause it's so bad. It's so bad. Gosh. Smoke, bro. Anyway, everybody's smoking anyway. Should I go smoke something now? I feel like I can hit my joint a little bit. Jesus.
Yeah.
It's all the way over here, though. When I say that, I only have to stretch. I have to stretch behind this. This
With his stretchy voice going. It's in his gimp room.
I'm so far away. Yeah, and I was growing some mushrooms, everybody, and fucking got mold in them, so I'm a little bit disappointed about that as well. And pain in the ass. But goddamn, I have to start that all over again. Shame as well. It's a bit, like it's taken about 10 weeks to get to this point. It's like, yeah, let me check. Oh, mold. Like you couldn't have told me like 3 weeks in, could you? You have to wait until now. Gosh.
That's what makes it so exciting.
Yeah, you know, just hoping to get some trichoderma there.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yay. Yay. God damn. It's a pain in the ass, but I do enjoy the hobby still, even though it rarely turns out successful. I still enjoy it. I've still got a few mushrooms left as well. I had some nice mushrooms the other day. Like it was only less than half a gram, but the buzz was just right, man. I wish I knew how much I actually consumed because it's just, you know, no visuals and shit, just a little bit of the giggles and a nice warm hug kind of feeling to it. But yeah, it was real nice. It must have been like maybe 0.3, 0.4 of a gram. Not nice. Penis envy as well. It's not like I'm a lightweight, everybody. It's just they're strong mushrooms. Billy, you did 3 grams the other day, didn't you? Are you there? Did you get a drink? Billy's gone, I think.
Oh, I guess he's off on his mushroom trip or something.
He's gone for a quick fucking zombie game, you know?
Oh. 3 grams is, you know, that's
penis envy. Healthy
a
dose.
healthy dose.
Mm-hmm.
That's a healthy dose.
Jesus. This is some strong cannabis. As to be expected.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's it. I do love cannabis. You know, I enjoy smoking it, but it's just so strong, man. You know, being a lightweight and not having a high tolerance, it is so strong. Just a
That
few
just means
draws.
you need a little bit less for your minimum effective dose.
Yeah, but I enjoy the taste. So after I've had true draws, I'm like, oh, that's starting to hit me already.
Right.
But I'd like to smoke half a joint and be like, oh yeah, this is delicious. I like the texture, you know, I like the smoke, I like the flavor, and I just can't smoke enough of it because sometimes I'm like, that's some good shit, and that's it. I can't really enjoy it. I need to grow more CBD weed, is what I need to do, you know.
You ever mix it?
No, I don't have any CBD cannabis, so.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I need to grow some. I think that I'm going to make that priority on the next grow. Because the missus, she can smoke as much cannabis as she likes, and she like has no ceiling when it comes to tolerance. She just smokes, man. She can smoke a lot. But I'm not the same. So she enjoys the high THC cannabis, and I just grow for her essentially. You know? Yeah, mix it with CBD. I know I've considered that before, and I've even grown like CBD cream and cheese where it's 50-50. And like 8% of each and shit, man. That works out nice. I like that as well. But you just have to do it again, don't I? I just don't have any CBD cannabis right now. But there was a place for it. I drove past the place last week and the missus was like, oh, look, that place sells CBD flower. Well, maybe I should go and check that out. But, you know, I don't like buying weed though. You know, I like to grow my own. That's where you know you're getting the good shit.
Yeah. I find there's like so much packaging with the stuff that you buy in the stores too. Like over here anyway. There's so much packaging.
Stupidness, you know, and trying to reduce the plastic use. And then just make every gram of cannabis and every joint have to be in all this plastic. Stupidness.
I know, and I made the mistake of recently listening to a podcast about microplastics.
Oh no. How it's in everything.
Yeah, literally. The doctor, it was a doctor that did the podcast, and she's like, We basically consume a credit card sized worth of microplastic like every single day.
Wow.
Because it is literally in almost everything.
Well, it's like I heard Reddit, it's in men's testicles. It's that bad. It's even in our bollocks now.
Yeah.
We have microplastics in our balls, man.
Yeah. Yeah. There's like it's all in our system and stuff, all over our bodies. It's not great. And it's really
Was that a
hard to
Rogan
limit.
podcast you were listening to?
No, it was Dr. Rhonda Patrick.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's what I seen. He just said in the chat, but I know Rhonda Patrick has been on the Joe Rogan podcast before.
Yeah,
As
I
well.
think that's where I first found out about her because I used to listen to Joe Rogan a lot. I don't
Mhm.
really anymore, but he would have doctors on, like Dr. Rhonda Patrick, and she's great. But now I'm like, oh, fuck, I have to worry about microplastics now.
Yeah,
Fuck's sake.
sometimes I said this to my friend the other day that I just wish I was 10 IQ points a little bit dumber. So then I wouldn't worry about these things so much, you know?
I know, and then I see all that weed. Like you go into a store in Canada, and like all that weed is in some kind of plastic container, and yeah,
To think if
everything.
hemp wasn't so prohibited, all of that plastic would be made
Mhm.
from hemp, and we wouldn't have the
Yeah,
microplastic
Oh
problem.
no, I seen he's trying to get me triggered there. Again, plastics is a depopulation weapon. It all makes
Yeah.
sense. It all makes sense now. Gosh.
depopulation, but then they're talking about how there's not enough population. Is population decline? Like, which is it?
Yeah, there is a huge population decline. Well, if AI kicks off the way they're expecting, then the establishment and they ain't gonna need so many people, are they? So they can afford to kill a shitload of.
Right.
500 million.
That's
That's all
strange.
they
You know,
need.
you've got two different sections of chat here. I can see the chat on the actual screen, and I can see the chat in the side. And this is censorship for you, everybody. In the main chat, in the top chat, you will see I seen he say Rhonda Patrick, suggesting that the one Margaret was listening to was Rhonda Patrick. And then you see on the screen, you'll see Rhonda Patrick on the screen. It says plastics is a
Oh,
depopulation weapon, and then he said plastics for spastics.
you are
But
correct.
if you look in the top chat, it removed the plastics
Does
is a
YouTube do
depopulation weapon.
that?
Yeah. Like
didn't know
shockingly, you don't even
that.
see it censors fucking so much. It's ridiculous. Does it? Me even speaking that out, probably now the video won't get shown to as many people because we've said certain things. Said a few swear words at the start of the show as well, so that'll reduce the amount that YouTube sends you
Wow,
out to
I
people.
didn't know they did that like
Mhm.
that.
And we're just a small podcast. Imagine
Interesting.
what it does to the big ones.
Right.
Yeah, and people self-censor as well because of things like this, you know? Like you won't say things like that. So you're not allowed to talk about controversial things when you're on YouTube because they will just shadow ban your video. But anyway,
Yeah,
Right.
I self-censor.
yeah.
People
Hostagram
are saying in the
says,
chat
sorry,
too,
Margaret.
they're just going back to the plastics and stuff. People are talking about how like oil companies produce all these plastics, and they were sold to us back in the, I don't know, when they were first discovered in the 50s as being this amazing new technology and product and stuff. And they've like we could use so many other technologies, like say mushrooms have been talked about as like an alternative for making packaging and other things, hemp, like so many things. But oil is subsidized, and like that's what
Exactly.
like if we invest into these other technologies, they could be as cheap as plastic, but because we don't, they're viewed as being more expensive alternatives, but that's
Yep.
because that's how it's treated.
At
They
some
don't get
point, we're going to be
subsidized.
forced to go in that direction. That's just the way it is.
And now we're all ingesting microplastics, and that's bad for our health. So thanks, oil companies. Are you going to pay for our medical bills later?
Ha! Ah!
Ah,
That was part of the plan.
right,
To make money for their pharmaceutical company friends as well. But look at us
right.
going on a fucking conspiracy special. Gee. That's saved for special occasions. Yeah.
Right.
Come on, Iceni. Let's not do that today. Look. He's giving us some statistics there. But yeah, man. Lots of things going on. But I think we should we move on to the grow guides now? Are we all ready?
Yeah.
I am ready. I'm ready for
Yeah.
the grow guides. Let's do it. Let me find the right button. Make sure it doesn't double click. There we go. Episode 17, and if you are following the grow guides from the beginning, by now you should have some nice cannabis plants that are producing flowers that are a few weeks old, looking nice and fluffy and shit, and it should all pretty much be plain sailing from here. And we said last week about different ways to make your buds bigger and tastier and shit like that, so you should be following those guidelines. But now there really is not much to do other than keep the plant happy and healthy. That's your job. You just keep doing that for the next 6, 8, 10 weeks, depending on what strain you're growing. So it can get a little bit boring. But what you can do now is pop some new seeds. And you can grow those alongside your other plants and reduce the amount of time the next grow takes, essentially, because, you know, it's rotating around each other. And that essentially is what perpetual growing is. You're going to be constantly growing cannabis and having plants at different stages of growth to reduce the time you have in between harvests. And that's what we're going to be discussing today. So where do we even begin? Billy, you are a perpetual grower, right?
I am, sir.
Nice. So you want to explain to everybody what perpetual growing is? I know I just did it, but maybe you have a different way of explaining it that can make sense to people.
No, you sort of explained it right. Perpetual growing is literally just the continuous growing of weed at all cycles. So you've always popping seeds, always got plants in nursery, always in veg, always in flower. It's just more how you flower is the difference, and how you veg is probably the main two sort of differences in, because some people can maybe say do, if they've only got 4 plants in flower, as soon as they chop them down, the 4 plants they got in veg then get whacked straight into flower straight away. But me, I do it slightly different, whereas I'm having 1 plant comes down and they move around in a cycle, and then the next plant goes in its place, sort of thing. So I'm having 1 plant a week rather than 4 or 8 plants every few months. So,
Yeah, well,
but it is, yeah, it is literally just a continuous growing of cannabis, literally. Like
it's
you
one of
do all
those. If
cycles.
you know, we explained on one of the episodes about how much cannabis you should be growing to cover how much cannabis you consume, and we said you should be, if you're consuming an ounce of cannabis every week, then you need to grow about 16 ounces of cannabis to cover you for the 16 weeks. But if you need cannabis for like oils and shit like that, you might need to grow even more than 16 ounces a week. Maybe you're consuming 2 ounces a week. So having one of these rotations on can reduce the time of the harvest. So you're harvesting every 10 weeks instead of every 16 weeks. So you can, you know, get, not necessarily get more cannabis, but be more efficient with the timing in between harvest by perpetually growing. Is this something that you've done before, Margaret?
No, I've never done it before.
Okay. You just usually start from seed straight off, and when
Yeah.
everything goes down, because the problem is for most people is you harvest the plants and then you have to dry them in the same place where it's been grown.
The space
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
need a lot of space.
Yeah. So the best thing to do to start with, if you are going to consider a perpetual grow, if you're going on a 4x4, for example, then a good idea would be to get a 60 centimeter by 60 centimeter grow tent that you can veg a few plants in. You know, and you can take 4 or 5 weeks off the whole growth cycle from there. You know what I mean? Overall, if you get it rotated properly, it works well for me. What's your technique then, Billy? When you, because you say you're perpetually growing, but what do you do with plants that are vegging? Do you have a separate grow space for them? Do you keep them in the same tent? Okay.
So
What's your
I have
second grow space?
I have 3 tents basically. So I have the nursery where I pop the seeds and then they go in, start off there. Yeah, if you know what I mean. So the lights lower down. They're in smaller pots. So once they're at topping stage, they then get moved into the next vegging tent, which is where they go into their bigger pots, like their big pots, and then they grow from there into their next stage, into the flower, into what size I want them to be for flowering. You see, and then from there, one at a time, they then go into the flowering room. So each week, 1 or 2 plants from the veg room go into the flower tent, and because 1 or 2 plants from the flower tents come out, so it's got like a continuous space, like a rotation like that.
Yeah,
But I do 1 or 2 a week, so every week I'm chopping down so I can then have as many different strains I want, and it's continuous on a continuous cycle. Yeah, and it doesn't take up all the whole space of the tent then with all flowers, because there's 2 plants at the start, two plants growing, which is slightly a few weeks later, staggered growing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it goes round in like a big circle. So it just makes it a lot easier, simpler. And for me, it's strain selection, which is the main reason I do it that way. Because I can
So
have
you have variety, yeah?
Yeah, I have a different strain almost every week. Every 2 weeks, I have a different strain.
2 weeks? Aha.
Two weeks.
Gotcha.
Yeah, see, shit. But yeah, that's literally it. Is because of that.
Oh
So
man, I was out with friends yesterday, and we were just sitting outside this fucking pub, and my mate, he just did 2 weeks like 3 times in like a single paragraph, and it took everything with me not to shout 2 weeks. I swear, I was like, don't fuck, because he said it
Fuck it
once.
up,
I was like, no,
Macky.
don't do it, don't do it. And then he said it again.
Maybe
I was
he's
like, oh
testing
god! And then he said it for the 3rd time. I was like, oh fucking Jesus Christ!
You're sitting there rubbing your thighs at that one. You're like,
Don't say, and it's a good job it's sober October. You know, I haven't been drinking, because if it was a couple of pints in, I might have just done it. You know?
You would have done, yeah, definitely, for sure.
Shit, funny. Sorry. Anyway, yeah. So you are how often you harvesting then, Billy? Every couple of weeks?
I'd say every 10 days on average, because it depends on when the plant's ready, if you know what I mean. But I try to get one there every week. So every week one comes down, but one might take an extra week. So some weeks I have 2 plants and then I might have a gap. But sometimes I can get some extra plants in there as well.
So how are you drying?
I'll dry at a different venue.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Cheeky like that.
Right. So
Yeah,
different tent or something, right?
Yeah, different tent, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's again, my flower tent's constantly going.
Mm-hmm.
So it never has to.
So it takes up a lot. Sorry, Margaret.
Is it more or less work to do it this way?
I would say it's slightly more work, but less hassle but more comfortable, because you've only got 1 plant a week to then trim and take, and then you get to choose how many strains you're growing of that plant, and you get big variety. It's the best way to get a variety.
Yeah, it does sound nice for that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's brilliant for that. Well, my strain this year is probably going to reach like over 30.
30 different cultivars.
Yeah.
You were aiming for 50. You didn't get there?
I was aiming. No. I don't think I'll get to 50. I'll be 35 possibly. I would have reached, but I've been a bit slack. But how many people have grown 35 different cultivars this year?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah,
not me.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So that's what I mean. That's why I do it that way, because it's like, oh shit, and it's real testing for what I like, and then see, and then I feel like, oh, I like them, and I can grow them again, and I'll grow 2 or 3 of them because I really like them. Then,
and for you, you're growing in living soils as well, innit? So I assume when you harvest, you're taking that soil, you're re-amending it, and then you're just planting something back in it and letting it go. So you don't have to worry about messing around with nutrients halfway through the grow. Shit like that.
Exactly. No, you don't. That's why I live in soils. It's really simple. You just water all the plants with water. You don't have to think, oh, this plant needs this much feed and that much. It's like, nah, fuck that out the window. It just needs water. Does it need to put your finger in it and see how moist it is? Like moist, and then well,
I'm gonna beep out that. I'm gonna beep it out.
But you will if it just makes it simple. It's like This
is one of the off-putting things when it comes to growing in cocoa, because I grow in cocoa. So I'll give you one of my examples. So I've perpetually grown a few times, and I've got a couple of different systems on how to do it. But right now, I'll predominantly grow autos. So I'll be growing 4 plants, 4 autos, and just grow them normally from seed. And then when one of them looks pretty much done, I'll chop it down, leave 3 in there, and then I have that single corner of the grow tent where I can pop some seeds and grow some more plants out, start the next 4 while the other 3 go for another fucking 20 days when there's enough space, when it's just about right, and they can fatten out more, ripen up more, but I've still got some cannabis on the side to smoke until this shit is done. So that works out well, and that can reduce the whole harvest time by about 4 weeks, obviously, because when they're autos, they're on 18/6 anyway, and it's a nice cycle that can just go round and round. But the problem is I'm feeding plants that are flowering. I have to mix up a feed for them, and then I have to mix up a separate feed for the seedlings. So that it's more work in that way. But if you do manage to get it up and running in the living soil method like that, where it's just water, make the whole situation so much easier.
Yes, the whole cycle I do is just like water for everything. I don't have to think about seeds for water for the seedlings, and it's just like how much water do they need, and that's it.
So do you have like a veg intent and a flower intent. So one's on 18.6 and one's on
Yes,
12.12. Yeah.
Well, I have 3 tents. One's
Mhm.
really small one for the really small seedlings, and then one's for the veg intent to
Right.
make them bigger and to decide when they're needed, and then the
Right.
flower
So
intent
yeah,
in
so
a
it
different
takes up a
room.
lot of space. Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
take
the
up a
way
lot of
I do
space.
it, with the 3 autos and the 4 seedling autos, I don't need any extra space for that. It just makes it easier, and you can dry. You need another space to dry the plants like when they come down, but you don't need a
Yeah.
massive tent. Because there was
No,
another
that's the
way I
problem.
used to do it as well. Say if I'm starting a whole new grow, everything's been down for a while, I'm starting again. I would start off with. Let me just add more to that, because I used to smoke a lot more cannabis than I do now. So it was me and the wife consumed a lot of cannabis. So I had 2 4x4s, and I'd get one of the 4x4s up and running first, and I'd grow 8 plants in it, 4 autos and 4 photos. And then when they started to get big enough, and I moved the 4 autos into another tent so they could just continue their grow, I'd switch the 4 photo seedlings to 12-12, let them flower, and then the autos would be done before the photos were, so you could harvest them and you can consume some autos while the photos are going. And when the autos are dry, you can start the next grow in there and just repeat that process, and it goes round and round. So you only you're harvesting like every 10 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks or something, depending on the flowering cycle, really. And you can get through a lot of cannabis when you're doing it like that. Have loads of fucking weed, and you only need 2 tents to do it like that. Depends on how you want to dry. But it's dark in the grow room usually anyway, so I don't mind growing outside the tent, and everything's getting extracted out through filters so it doesn't stink out the house and shit. So that works for me. That's another good way of doing it. But a lot of work, isn't it? It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is a lot of work, but it's also a lot of knowledge, if you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean. So because you're always doing all the stages, so you're learning about all the stages all the time. So any mistakes you make, you learn to rectify, and you learn quickly, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned so much in perpetual growing than I did from how I grew before, if you know what I mean. Especially
Yeah.
with Percy's and the help, it's like shit. I can really grow good quality weed now perpetually. Like I know what I'm doing
And
very
like we
easily.
mentioned earlier as well, the flowering process, you just keeping the plants happy and watering at this stage. Really nothing's going on. So if you want to be involved in the hobby, then starting off some more fucking beans, if that was an option. Not only reduce the time in between harvests there, so you'd be getting more cannabis, but it's also something to do, isn't it? You can do more training. You don't have to worry so much about getting it done quick and all this shit.
Also, you can grow like a couple of extra plants, so you can learn how to top train. So if anything goes wrong with it, it don't matter because you've got the other ones there. So if
Hmm.
you know what I mean.
Hmm.
So it's just a
Mhm.
good way of learning, and especially with the living soil, it just keeps it so much simpler.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you can probably take
It's
a few more
yeah,
risks because it
hmm
yeah,
doesn't
basically,
wait.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, when you got that surplus.
Also, like the trimming when you've got one plant every 10 days. I'm trimming like say for
Hmm.
30 minutes an hour, 5 days a week, and that supplies me tons of weed. Like and with loads of surplus and trim for hash. So
Yeah,
it's just bonuses all round. You
that's it,
ain't
isn't
got
it?
loads of sitting around and trimming. You just got a little bit of light work each day,
Yeah.
which is quite fun. Yeah,
So
so
instead of
it's
trim jail, it's like trim rehab.
yeah, basically trim. Yeah,
Same
and
thing
for
in
that
some places, Margaret.
yeah, and for that hour you just sit there
Right.
and watch a cool podcast or something, don't you?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's bound to be
Because
something you can
that's what I
do,
was
isn't it?
thinking.
So
Because when I come to harvest time, it's usually at least 12 hours. Just doing the four
yeah,
plants, 12 hours, 16 hours maybe, and you need to have something to keep you occupied. And it's nothing you can watch. It's stuff you can listen to is better because your eyes are occupied with the trimming. So
Yeah.
I used to
it's
help my
hard to
mate. There
find
was
16 hours of good content, but it's easy to find 2 hours of good content for just a plant.
it'd be three of us for 12 hours.
Damn.
Really, pretty much every harvest he done, that'd probably be the average of what we done.
Mm-mm.
So it's like a whole day's work, like
Mission.
pretty much for
Mission.
12 hours. It was a proper mission. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you'd be proper mashed at the end of the day, and you get slower and slower and slower. It'd probably take like 14 and 16 hours sometimes because you'd
Mm-hmm.
get more mashed. But
Is it?
it's just too much for this. It makes it simple.
Hmm.
Like
So you
you
need
ain't
at
got
least 2 tents to do that. Well, I say that, but you can also depending on your situation, you don't necessarily need to put seedlings and small plants in a tent, as long as you can get enough light to it. There's no smell coming off it. Somebody mentioned there as
Yeah.
well, I think it was Savans. Yeah, he said there you can early veg on a shelf with a T5. And which, yeah, for sure, yeah, and no smell as well, so you don't have to worry about that too much.
Yeah.
So you can
You only
save
need a
just a
really
few
tiny
weeks.
tent on top of your other tent
Mm-hmm.
to veg really tiny ones. It needs such a small
Yeah.
space. It's unbelievable, really. Yeah.
You want to dry in the dark, so as long as you got somewhere to dry, and if you have to do that in the tent you've grown in, then obviously you're going to need another space for that. But you don't necessarily need a tent for it. You can just, I don't know,
I
use a
think
fucking
the
shelf or
drying
something,
in the
yeah.
dark is a bit of a myth. It's just direct sunlight. I think is
Yeah,
the
yeah, I think
issue.
so. I think, well, not necessarily a myth. In the dark is best, but not absolutely necessary. I mean, Jamaican weed is
Yeah.
grown out in the sunlight, and that turns out just fine. It's just browner, but preferred in the dark
It's
because then the
grown out in the
chlorophylls.
sunlight. You said.
Yeah, did I say? I mean, dried in the sunlight.
Yeah, it's just funny.
Yeah, I mean,
Weeds grown out in the
you know, it's
sunlight.
grown
Really.
in the dark. But there was a news article I've seen this week where scientists have figured out. I think it was in the Discord. I think it was linked in the Discord. They're trying to figure out a way, or they might have figured out a way for plants to grow in the dark without light.
Really?
That'd be stupid, really, because they need the dark stage to produce certain parts. It's
Yeah,
part of the growth
madness, that.
cycle. It's just pathetic. Why do you want to do
Imagine if they could grow cannabis in the dark. All those companies save money on the light and shit. They'll make a
Ugh,
fortune.
we don't need more shit to help big companies. Let's
You
find
know,
more
Yeah,
shit
innit?
for
that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
regular people.
Fuck them cunts. Right?
Yeah, I don't
Mhm.
give a shit about their lighting.
But anyway, you know, that could work for your perpetual grow though. Everybody don't even need a light then. Well, anyway, so essentially you need two spaces, or you need enough space. So like I said, you can squeeze it if you do the 3 plants where you got 4 plants, harvest one and then grow 4 in the space but you took at that one plant. You know, that can work in just one tent, but it's not ideal. You know, you don't want to do it like that. It's better to have the 2 tents, and a good setup is to just have a 60 centimeter grow tent, you know, 4-inch extractor with a small light in it. Nothing crazy, because you're only going to keep small plants in it anyway. But you can grow 4 plants in there for 3-4 weeks, maybe even 5, depending on how you're growing it, and depending on how quickly they grow and shit as well. So at some point you'd have to move it over to the big tent. But if you can overlap that, like when you check your plants and they're coming to the end of flowering, so you got the 4x4 4 plants in it, and you're checking those, you see, oh, these will be down in 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks. So you start flushing or whatever. But you're gonna take a couple of weeks there for it to finish, and then you're gonna take, let's say, a couple more weeks on top of that for it to dry, and then that space is going to be empty again. So you can do 4 small plants in a 60 centimeter by 60 centimeter grow tent for 4 weeks, and then you waste no time. You can just get those plants straight in to the big tent when everything's out of it, and give it a couple of weeks of flowering. Give it a couple more weeks more veg, sorry, and then flower it, and you know, that reduces another 4 weeks off the whole cycle of your grow. So instead of taking 16 weeks in between harvests from running everything in one tent, you've reduced it down to 12 weeks. And it can be even less than that. It can be 10 weeks, you know. And that can make a big difference if you need a lot of cannabis. And it's always good to have some surplus as well, everybody. It's good to have extra. You know, if you don't have extra, then, you know, you should be popping some more plants. And it's not like you won't do anything with that cannabis. Like Billy says, he can harvest quite a lot of cannabis, 4 or 5 ounces every 10 days or so there off the one plant. But you can make hash, you can make oils, you can make edibles. It's just good to have that abundance so you can do these different things if you wanted to. You better have too much than not enough, you know, the way I see it. But once you've got enough, you know, you can slow it down and just do one tent again. You can do what you like. It works. Multiple lights for perpetual, so you can lower a light to accommodate for young flowering plants. Yeah, that works. I see. You know, you can, because you want the plants to be a certain distance from the light, or you can raise them up as well. Because I would just get some buckets and some books and put my new plants on a tray and sit on top of that, and it'll be like close to midway through the plants at least, so it's a good distance from the light. It's not too close, not too far, but the flowering plants are also getting a good section of light as well. And if you use good lights like from HLG wide spectrum, then the plants love it no matter what age they're at. Good shit. Well, what do you think here, Margaret? You got questions here? You got any? How do you visualize this? Would you do it?
I don't know if I would do it right away, but it could be something I can move into. I do have a little T5 light, which could
Nice.
help a little bit, but I'm just trying to get my grow started to start out with, so
Hmm.
one thing at a time. But
That's
I
right.
can
I've got to
see how
send you some
useful it would
seeds. Yeah.
be.
Hmm.
Yeah, because you have that variety. If you want to try some CBD or whatever, but you don't want to commit like a whole grow to it, then this is
Mm.
a way to sort of incorporate that. And then you're not trimming for 16 hours after a
Yeah.
harvest. 'Cause that's not fun.
Yeah, man. And it's reasonably easy. I think space would be the thing that would
Mm.
stop most people, and maybe budget at first as well. You know, if you're just starting out, you don't have the spare funds to be buying new grow tents and shit. You know, just do what you can to start with. But over time, you will just buy more shit, and your whole setup becomes bigger and bigger over time. You just acquire loads of stuff. You know the feeling, don't you, Billy? I'm sure you got loads of shit you don't need as well.
Yeah, you just acquire it, and then
Mm,
you think, oh, that's how I got to the perpetual growing. Just built up the thing slowly, so you get more
mm.
tents and shit like that. I
Well,
upgraded and then had stuff left over. So what do I do it
yeah.
with it? And then I looked at perpetual growing. I thought, yeah, that's for me then.
Man,
So,
to look back when I first started growing weed, I first started growing in a 60 centimeter grow tent with a 250 watt HPS, with a 250 watt ballast. It was just a small little cell, 4-inch bathroom extractor. If I could see the setup I had now back then, I'd be like, whoa. And you know this beast LED I've got, and fucking getting a new grow tent soon because my last one ripped. Shit, but you know I've got plenty of those as well. It's madness just to think how much you accumulate over time. So you know I started in the 60 centimeter tent and then got a 4x4, and then I was using them two together, and then you know the 60 centimeter tent got old, so I got rid of it, but then needed it because that was part of my setup, so I had to get a new one of those. You just keep this shit going around. It's good fun, man. Good fun. But obviously, if you're growing in a place where cannabis is still illegal, you don't want to be getting too much equipment because you can just end you up in more shit. They call it a complicated or complex cannabis factory is what they would call it, right, Billy?
basically, yeah,
Mm.
it'd be something like that.
Yeah, stupidness. A cannabis factory, complex cannabis factory. But if you're in a legal place, you know, and you're allowed to grow 12 plants legally, then fuck yeah, make the most of it. You can't
I
have too
do
much
highly
cannabis in them
recommend
places.
it. I
Mm.
really highly recommend it,
Yeah,
especially with the living soil. Makes it so
mhm.
much simpler.
Yeah, for sure. Living soil on autos and just leave the thing on 18.6, man. Because that's a way to do it as well. I've mentioned this before, where you can just pop an auto seed, a sophisticated cannabis cell. Yeah, thank you there, grocer. Yeah, that's right, greengrocer. Sophisticated cannabis factory. That's the terminology they use. But you know, if you got a 4x4, and again, that's what we've been recommended. If you've been following this series, having a 4x4 with 4 plants in it is fucking perfect for a Percy grower for most people. But you can just start one auto, and then 3 weeks later, put another one in. And then 3 weeks later, put another one in. Then you've got one that's at 6 weeks, one that's at 3 weeks, and one that's at 0 weeks. And then you put your fourth one in. And by the time you've done that, you've got the last one, which is on 9 weeks, and then 6 weeks, 3 weeks, 0 weeks. And after a couple of weeks, that big one is going to be able to be harvested. And then you put your next one in. So it's just, and the lights are constantly on 18.6. You keep it at the same kind of environment, same temperatures, same humidity. You know, keep the fans running, and everything will be fine. And you can just run a nice cycle like that. So that's a nice way that you can constantly harvest a plant every 3 or 4 weeks. You just right out of one tent, one 4x4. But then you need a 60 centimeter tent just to dry one plant in. And that's perfect then. And you just do autos, and like Billy does there, where he picks different strains and shit. You can just get a new strain in there every 3 weeks. 12 weeks for each plant is perfect for an auto. That's just a nice way you can just keep cycling the plants, get lots of variety. But you'd have to do that in the living soil method, because it would be a pain in the ass to have the 4 plants at all different stages of growth like that. So you'd have to give a little something to the seedling, a little bit more for the one which is into veg, then the one that's just starting to flower, then the one that's all the way into flower. And they're all going to require different feeds if you're in a hydroponic setup like cocoa or DWC. So bear that in mind. But if you were in the living soil and just amending the soil at the start, man, be perfect. Or if you're in a raised bed, I wouldn't say a raised bed was the best way, because the plants are gonna be different levels away from the lights and shit like that. Then you know the small little seedlings are gonna be much further away from the lights than the full flowering plant. So it's better for them to be in pots, so you can raise the levels of the plants if you needed to. But it's such a nice way to grow as well, doing it like that. You know. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Good.
Yes.
Sir. Yeah. I
Yes.
concur. I concur. Yeah. But you know, it's just
Indeed.
some ideas. Yeah. Sorry, Margaret, you were saying.
No, I was just agreeing some more.
It's just a nice, because as I say, if you, when you first start growing in, especially, you well into it, man. You know, and everything's super cool. You're learning loads of stuff. It's a real interesting hobby. It fades off for me a little. You know, I remember back in the day when I first started, I fucking loved it. I wanted to be around my plants every day. I was checking them all the time, and I always wanted to be hands on with them and do shit with them. So when it gets to the flowering stage and you're watching it and it's a good TV show. Don't get me wrong, you enjoy watching these plants grow from you know, all the flowers just growing up and getting fucking big juicy buds on them. It's great to watch, but you don't do anything, and I like to be hands on. So I got some, if you got some veg plants on the side that you can do your training with, and you know, your topping, your LST, so it'll keep you occupied if that's your kind of thing. So that's another good reason to do it. But overall, you're just reducing the amount of time that it takes in between harvests, so you can be essentially pulling off more harvests throughout the year and having more cannabis if you needed it or wanted it. Well, even if you might need it, you just want it so you can make some hash. No. So
Yeah,
get on it.
one issue I do have is having enough seeds and stuff to get into, like, from seedlings to veg, because some seeds obviously don't sprout, and so you either have less or too little or too more plants. So it's always best to have too many. So sometimes you cull one or two plants, or just grow really super small ones because you've got loads. So you literally just grow it straight from like seedling. Literally just whack it straight in the flower tank, because it's like not going to be able to do nothing else with it because you've got load too many.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of just shit like that sort of thing.
Yeah, and
But yeah,
Cookie Grow
it's
in the
making
chat
sure you.
said here as well, you need to watch your power consumption. Don't want to overload a circuit. Yeah, and most
Yeah,
household
plug
plug
socket
sockets
use and
can handle a decent sized grow light, but it won't be able to. You can't fucking pack them all out of 3 HPS in one room and shit
yeah,
like that. That would be
don't
crazy talk.
pack all your
Mm,
fucking lights off of one socket. Yeah, separate
yeah,
all the light systems
hmm
on different sockets and all that. Be
yeah.
electric safe. Yeah.
That's right. Always be cautious with that electricity usage. Very important. But if you just grow in a 4x4 with a 60 centimeter by 60 centimeter, the light should be in different sockets. Then you shouldn't overload any power in a normal house, I would think. But get it checked if you have any concerns about that. Good shout. Good shout. Know your amps, says Iceni. But yeah. I enjoy the whole perpetual grow thing, but because I don't smoke as much as I used to, I just don't have the need for it now. You know, I can't, like, my tent's down now. I don't need to be growing anything right now. I've got enough surplus. It's got enough to last for quite a while. So, you know, I'll put it back up maybe in a few weeks if I wanted to. But I want to get a new one. I want to get one of those nice Gorilla Grow tents. I'm saying, because I ripped my one. I was ran the tangent, everybody. I was taking down the tent and I snapped the fucking bar on it at the top. You know, the corner. I snapped one of those, and there's a big rip down the side of it now. It's a good tent. It's a Mars Hydro tent. Lasted me about 5 years. Good tent, man. And I'm not complaining. It's just wear and tear over time. It's been set up and put down lots of times, so it's gonna happen eventually. But it just means that I have to get a new one. So I'm thinking about getting a Gorilla Grow tent because they just look really nice. And apparently they're really good. Haven't used them before, but you know, they've got good ratings and shit. Just expensive.
Right.
Yeah. Gonna do that soon. Anyway, yeah, back to perpetual growing. Do it, everybody. Do it. Give it a shot. You know, if you're not concerned about having too many. Anyway, you know, I don't want to force anybody to do it, but it's good to have surplus cannabis, just so you can make some nice hash and oils and edibles. You know, imagine having enough cannabis where you can just be like, oh, I'm going to take this ounce and I'm going to make some butter. And you go and make some butter and you go visit Bite Me the Show about edibles and make some delicious shit with it, you know? And then if you do have enough surplus, then you don't need to grow for a while. You know? So it's just good to. Sorry, buddy, you were saying.
Yeah, I was gonna say it won't be surplus when the end of the world comes and you need it all as well.
That's right. It's better to have too much than not enough, isn't it? Especially if you're a
Exactly.
medical user, you don't want to run out of medicine. And at some point, you could just be growing, and then something happens to your grow. You know, fucking plants die, electric goes off, or you get hermy. So many things can go wrong. And then, what if you don't have surplus cannabis? What if you don't have a few ounces on the side to last you? Then you're gonna run out. You're gonna have to go back out there buying that street cannabis, and you've heard about that stuff. It's got mold in, it's got E. coli, it's got yeast infection and shit.
90% of it's contaminated.
That's right. That's right.
90%. It's a lot.
It's dangerous cannabis out there on the streets. Of course, we exaggerate with shit. You don't want to run out. You know what I mean? It costs a lot of money. It happened to me, and I don't know why I ran out. I took the tents down for a reason. I can't remember. But then I had to go out and buy cannabis, and I was like, fuck, I don't even know where I can get any weed. So I eventually went out and bought a £10 weed off some guy, and it was fucking shit, man. And I'm looking at it like a £10 weed, and this is like less than a gram. It's like 0.8. It's like, that's not even gonna get me a fucking joint. What the fuck is this? It's so expensive. So expensive, man. So you go out and buy a Q instead, and that lasts a couple of days, and it's 50 quid. It's too much, man. Yeah, this is why you need to perpetual grow and make sure you have enough to sit on. And that cannabis just gets better over time as well. If you can keep the weed for like 6 months, man, after a nice cure, 6 months, 8 months, a year, just keeps getting better and better just keeps getting better and better as long as it's stored properly. So make sure you're storing that shit properly.
Right.
You've got enough surplus. There's nothing wrong with sitting on 20 ounces just to make sure that you've got enough in case shit goes tits up. And then it only takes 12 weeks to get to another harvest if you pop some autos. The 20 ounces should be enough to last 12 weeks, you know what I mean? That's how I see it. But yeah, I think that's everything about perpetual growing. I don't think there's much to add there. I mean, Greengrocer said, do you guys keep a mother plant? Is that perpetual? It's I suppose it is kind of perpetual to do a mother plant, yeah. But well, I don't know. What would you say, Billy? I wouldn't consider it perpetual. I mean, it is in a way because you're constantly growing plants at different stages of growth. But you grow a mother plant so you can start, the grow with some cuttings. And essentially, it's a week difference from growing from seed anyway. So you're still going through that whole grow process. Maybe if you to perpetual grow, you would have that grow going and take some cuts when it's coming close to ending. So, you can perpetually grow that way.
I say perpetual growing's more perpetual flowering. If you know what I mean, so you're always flowering plants.
Yeah,
and whereas the mother plant, you don't even have to flower. You could just have a mother plant and pass on all the the cuttings to other people and never even flower. So you're not really perpetually growing, are you?
Yeah,
you're just got a mother plant. So perpetual is more perpetually flowering.
Yeah.
It's like a continuous cycle of all the stages.
Yeah, if clones grow when you're in flower, then you could do it. You just want to keep the grow moving all the time. If you essentially grow from seed, harvest, let it dry, take your shit down, that's not perpetual growing. But if you're keeping things going all the time, different cycles, different plants at different stages of growth, that's perpetual.
You can have a mother plant and perpetual grow and use it as the perpetual as your seedlings or cuttings. So it depends on where you get your baby plants from. It's either seeds or cuttings. So it doesn't really matter where that comes from. So you can add that to your cycle. If you've got a lot of space and you want to keep mums, then that's for sure. You could have a mother tent where you keep loads of mums and shit, and then perpetually grow from there with cuttings rather than seeds or mixture. But yeah, it's not actually perpetual growing. No, I'd say no. In my opinion, obviously.
Overall, perpetual growing, it's good because you can reduce the amount of time you're harvesting. So every 10 weeks instead of every 16, for example, you can reduce the amount of time it takes to trim because you can maybe you're only doing one plant at a time instead of 4 or 5, 6, and you're doing the same amount of plants but spread over a certain amount of time. So there's less time in trimming like that. There's more variety, so you can have different plants going into the tent every couple of weeks to give you different cultivars, so you got more variety. That's another good point about it. And you're hands-on. If you want to be hands-on with your plants and you don't just want to sit there watching them flower, then try some perpetual growing as well. So there's lots of different reasons why you would want to do this. I'm sure that's not all of them. I'm sure there's many more. So just consider it, man. Give it a shot. You don't have to do it once you've got enough cannabis. You know what I mean? But I would definitely try it if it's something that sounds interesting. But is there anything to add here? I think we covered everything there.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah. So of course, if we didn't cover anything and you want us to explain something to you, head over to percysgrowroom.com. You can find us there, or head over to the Discord server, which is linked in the description. Just click on that and you'll go to the Discord. But right now, I think that's everything. We should do some listener mail. Should we do some listener mail?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it.
May as well. Do it.
Yeah, show notes up here.
You need to make a listener mail
Double
thing,
clicking.
didn't you? Like,
Oh yeah, there is on the
listener
download
mail.
version. There is on
Oh,
when
right.
you download the podcast, and it's a nice little tune as well. The
Why
listener
don't you
mail
play
tune.
it for all the live people, man?
Because then I have to set up a whole different thing. It's a mission. And everything double clicks. So this is the live show. We're just recording the show here, everybody. That's what this is. You know, if you want to hear it in its full glory, then you're gonna go and download it. Do that too. Download the podcast, everybody. Don't just listen on YouTube. Yeah, see, Adam Bomb agrees it's a nice tune. Nice little piano tune, and it drops in real nice. Do 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 do. Yeah, it's nice, man. And then it's really professional. If you listen to the downloaded version of the podcast, it's much more professional than the YouTube version. And there's not so many random tangents. You know, there's beeps when Billy says things like moist. You know.
The only full glory these lot do is when they use one of their holes.
See that would be taken out on the downloaded version. You know. Right, so some listener mail. We have I saw one in YouTube chat earlier. It was like one of the first comments at the start of the chat. I thought, it's a good question, so I think I'll bring that one in. This was from Leo Cameron from the YouTube chat, and he said, "It, meaning cannabis, gets you more high, but what type the best for your health? Do you really use cannabis or do people really use cannabis for health reasons?" So there's a couple of questions there in that one. You know, what type of cannabis is best for medicine, I think he means by that. And do people even use cannabis for medical reasons? And there was a while there, I don't know, maybe it was like 2010, 2013, where I think it was around then anyway, so what, maybe even longer. Or it was around late 2000s. And the whole medical cannabis thing started. And I was using a shitload of cannabis then, did for a long time. And I saw this happen and people going on medical use. Oh yeah, I want to use cannabis for medical use. And I was like, these motherfuckers, they're just saying this so they can get cannabis legalized and they can smoke weed. You know, like the South Park episode with Randy Marsh jumping around on his balls, you know, because he wanted weed, he could only get it medical. So, you know, this is the... And I just thought there was no medical use to cannabis at all. It's just people were bullshitting to try and get medical use. But I was wrong about that shit. You know, when you actually look into it and you do some research, there is a lot of medical use for cannabis. And there's some people would even say there is no recreational. Everybody uses it for medical in some way. I disagree with that. I think there is recreational use of cannabis. But damn, there are so many medical uses to this plant. So many. It does so many different things. So, yes, people do use cannabis for health reasons, you know.
100%. I agree.
There's one of the biggest killers.
Still here.
Yeah, and for many people as well. And one of the biggest killers that they don't talk about enough is stress. And if you can just reduce your stress a little bit, and cannabis can help that, then you know cannabis is definitely used for health reasons. Even if it's just for stress, but you know, lots of evidence says it's good with epilepsy, MS, Parkinson's, cancer, being treated after chemotherapy. If you've got a headache, backache, inflammation, God, the list goes on, man. And I used to think, and I said it was a long time ago. It's not like it's recent, you know. It's like 15 years or something. That it was just all bullshit, and it was just people who were trying to get stoned and use medical as an excuse. So yeah, cannabis definitely does have medical use. Sorry to go off on the long one there, but yeah, I thought that required that kind of answer. But anything to add to that one? You all agree, right? Cannabis does get used for medical use, health reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, all kinds of health reasons too. That's what makes it so amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it
Well,
really
I
is
wouldn't be
amazing.
alive or eat or sleep at all without it. So yeah.
Yeah, man.
And
But
plus,
what
you've got
kind of
like I said, the
sorry, Billy.
endocannabinoid system.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, do some research on the endocannabinoid system, everybody. That's interesting shit. And you'll know more about your doctor then. You know more than your doctor about the endocannabinoid system. You won't know more about your doctor. That was a slip of the tongue. Ooh, indeed. But he also asks here, Leo asked, he gets more, but what type is best for health? So what kind of It depends on what the problem you have is. It's good if you can to ask your doctor about that kind of shit, and they will be able to point you in the right direction. Maybe if they're well informed, but it depends on what you want it for. I mean, if you use CBD cannabis, I've heard about CBD cannabis is good for inflammation and things like that. That can help reduce that kind of pain. And THC is good for different types of epilepsy, but so CBD. So you really just have to try different ones and see which ones work for the different ailments you have. And then when one does work and you find that it does soothe whatever ailment you have, then yeah, stick with that one. Because it's more than just cannabinoids, it's terpenes as well. A lot goes into it on why cannabis works
Yeah,
for particular things.
that's where it can get like you'd really do have to track your cannabis use if you're using it for medicinal purposes, because it's
Hmm.
not just even the cultivar, it's like the dose, the timing, and the ingestion method. Like all those things will probably have an effect on like what it is you're trying to treat.
Gosh, sorry, as usual, it's about that time where my dog broke in. You know,
Oh,
did you hear the door? Did you hear the
I
door?
thought I heard
Gosh.
something. Yeah.
I had my thumb on, I heard the door going. I was like, she's gonna come in the fucking room, isn't she? And then happened to click on the mute button. Maybe I got it just in time. Maybe not. Oh well. What can you say? It's nice to be wanted, isn't it? You know, she just comes in like, yeah, can I come and chill with you? So, of course, of course. But yeah, some CBD cannabis, THC cannabis. Figure out what works well for you, and that's what you want to stick with if you want to use it for medical use. But it's definitely good for medical use in many different ways. Just figure out which one works best for you. Indeed. So let's move on to the next one. We have one from Firetop here. He says, "Hi all, hope everyone's good. Q," which means question. "Has anyone ever done a complete hands-off grow before indoors? I know they're automated grow systems or whatever they are, whatever they're called, but has anyone ever done a full run from start to finish completely hands-off? I think it would be awesome to sit back and watch the plant grow from seed to harvest with no manipulation, and anyway, both feed, training, and watering. So curious to know if anyone managed to do one before. Keep it popping, people," says Firetop. Um, I don't know.
No.
And like I said, when you first start
Short
growing
answer.
cannabis, it's all fun, but as you get on, you can't you just grow yourself now? You know,
Yeah.
that's how it works. Well, would you say no, Margaret?
Yeah, I said no. I have not. The only time I've done come to pretty close to hands-off grow is when it's been outdoors,
Hmm.
but not indoors. I haven't pulled that off.
Yeah, there's whole systems you can buy that do it automated for you, but I think it takes the fun out of it. And I don't, quite, what's it, Swami, isn't it? Swami, that guy, Swami Chaitanya. Remember when he was on the show and he said
Yeah.
the best nutrients for a plant is the farmer's shadow. Don't underestimate how important it is
Oh,
for you to be there and check on shit. You know?
right. The
But
farmer shadow. That's great.
yeah, yeah, but it can definitely be done. Fully automated grow, definitely. You just
Sounds
have to
expensive
spend the
though,
money. Yeah,
too.
that's it. You have to spend the
Yeah.
money on it. I'd seen Jorge Cervantes once. He was looking at a place in California. It was an outdoor grow, but they fed these plants with salt-based nutrients, and they had all the buckets set up with all the food in and the nutrients, and they had an EC meter in the nutrient solution at all times. And when it started to move away from the EC it's supposed to be at, or the pH, it had automatic droppers to add more foods in, and the pH balance. It was all done automated. They just had to leave it running. But when the power goes out, and that might be
Right.
something
That's
more
a good
likely here
point.
in the UK coming up, but let's not go into that conversation. But, it's how automated do you want it? We've seen Twisted, Twisted over the forum. He's got a diary over at Percy's where he started a living soil bed and he put a camera in it because he would work away all week, and he would just come back on the weekends to check on his plants and shit, and then go back to work again. And that was the most automated I've ever seen a grow. He had it all automated watering. He could monitor it from his phone when he was away. He had it all set up. Fucking sweet, man. And you can get things
Hmm.
as well, Ecotech controllers or things from AC Infinity that monitor the environment. If it's too hot, they'll speed up the fans or turn on the aircon. If it's too cold, they'll turn on the heat or slow down the fans. All this shit can be automated with this different technology. It just costs money, mate. It just costs money, but it can definitely be
Right.
done. And if it's out
So
there,
fire
Billy,
top,
sorry, Mark.
check out Twisted's diary over on Percy's because it
Yeah,
sounds like he
everybody do that.
pulled it
Everybody go
off.
check out that diary. Fucking epic diary that was, for sure. Yeah. And Billy, you got something to add here? You got anything to add with automation?
Yeah, I advise everyone to wait and get a Tesla robots and get them to do it. Then they can
Oh,
do all the
good.
heavy
Yeah.
lifting and shit.
Yeah. Nice. Good idea. They're going to be
Sounds
about
just as
30 grand,
expensive.
didn't they?
Right.
Yeah.
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 So
Cheaper than an
hire some of that.
employee. So yeah,
Yeah.
get
Well, there
one.
you go. Yeah. Long term.
That's right, man. It's a good question there, Firetop. And if anybody does have like automated systems and things like that, come and show us over at Perseus, man. We'd like to see that kind of shit. Yeah, come and show us how automated it is and what automated systems you use, and what it is. Did you make it yourself? Because that can be done as well. I mean, back in the day when I first started growing, we didn't have all this fancy technology we have now. But I know of people who used the windscreen wiper on your car. You got that shit that squirts the juice out at the window. Getting those, people would go to the scrapyard and get those off the old cars and link them up onto their grow, so that would water the fucking plants. It's like madness, the shit we had to do back in the day. To get a good carbon filter, people would use a washing machine with nappies in it. Remember those days? Probably not, because you're all spoilt. People
No, I don't
stealing
remember that.
fucking people stealing HPS bulbs out the street lights. Remember those days? Gosh.
Really?
That's
Yeah.
where the first grow I see was people stealing them
Yeah, man.
old stolen lights to make it. It was one of the few places you could buy the fucking well, not buy, but get the bulbs from.
Yeah, you couldn't get it. Before the internet, before Amazon and shit, you couldn't get this shit easily. There was no grow
No.
shops.
Some security lights used them as well. Crazy.
Back in the day. Yeah, and we got another question here from Tektronic. And this is an interesting one. He says, have you ever used grow darts and recharge on any of your grows? Do they really eliminate the need to add newts during a grow? And grow darts are essentially just nutrients compact into tiny little balls that you add to the grow medium, and they break down over time and feed the plant. So I have never used them. Have you used them before, Billy? Yeah, I love balls, Macky. Sorry.
As you were saying, yeah.
You wasn't there. It was just taking advantage of that,
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You used grow darts before?
No, but I do love balls.
Yes.
Well, no.
In and around my mouth,
Yeah. Chocolate salty ones.
Jesus. Jeez.
No, I've never used grow balls or the recharge, but I do use amendments, but not recharge.
What about you, Margaret? You done any of this before?
I have never heard of it until right now.
Okay. Yeah, I know James has used them before over at the forum, and he just adds these. And I think Jordan River from Growcasters mentioned these before as well. So maybe he's got an episode on that. So do check out Jordan. We need to get Jordan back on the show. It's been a while. Anyway, reminder during the edit, ask Jordan if he's free sometime. But I've seen people use them well, but it's very difficult, very easy to overuse them, and then you're going to be feeding your plant too much and shit. So it depends on what grow medium you're using as well. If you're using soil or cocoa, a soilless medium, that all needs to be taken into consideration. I don't think they're as good as they used to be, and I mean they're the same as they used to be, but now you have this option of this living soil that you can just go and buy, so it's not necessary to go and add grow dots at different amounts to the thing. You can go out and get good fucking soil. Now it's expensive, but it's worth going out there to buy that living soil if you can. So if you want to head that direction where you just have to add water to your grow throughout the whole grow, then maybe grow dots is not the right option for you. Maybe you want to go for the living soil. Give that a shot, man. That's what I would say. But also, if you want to give it a shot, then yeah, do so and start a diary over at Percy's. I think James does have a diary with this, so if you just head to Percy's Grow Room and do a search for grow dots, then and search on the forum as well. Yeah, search for grow dots, and you might be able to find a diary with somebody who is using that, so you can see it for yourself. Yes, good question. Good question. We have a couple more. We'll quickly get to these before we go. Welsh grower. This is a pretty simple one to answer. Is it possible to grow in pots among sand dunes? So yeah. Well, it's just like Gorilla Grow, mate. If it isn't going to be seen, then yeah, give it a shot. You would agree, right? Everybody agree there?
Just need better watering though, wouldn't it? Obviously.
Yeah. Just need to make sure it's watered enough, but it's in pots, so yeah, it's just you can grow it anywhere if it's in a pot. You just have to make sure it's watered enough. And If you you wouldn't want to be too close to the water in case the tide came in extra far or something. The tide doesn't do that, but if there was a tsunami, but you don't want the salt water get into it, of course. But if it's in the right place, then it's all good, man. Just make sure it's getting enough light and you water it enough, and yeah, that should be fine. It should be fine. Let's go to the next one. Adam Baum. This is the last one here as well. He said, how do I get the benefits of isopod poo to my plant roots? How do you separate the isopods from the frass, and how much of the material should be used? This is one of them days when Brian should have been here. Does anybody know anything about isopods?
No.
No.
Yeah, I know Brian knows.
Yeah, I know Brian knows about isopods.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
He's the guy to ask that.
Yeah, and I think it's just called insect frass. It's where it's just like insect poop. I think it's just called insect
Worm
frass.
shit.
Yeah, and obviously the best way to get it in there is to, before you even add plants to it, add it, mix it in, make sure it's well mixed in. I don't know, like at what kind of level you want to be using it. Like how many grams or how many cubic feet or whatever. There's imagine a cubic feet of isopod shit. Jesus. Yeah, you'd sift it out somehow. You take all the isopods out of whichever container they're in and scoop up all the waste and then just filter it or something. Yeah, it sounds messy, man. You can just buy it if you want to do that. You can head to the what's it called, rubberduckyisopods.com. I think if you just do a search for rubber ducky isopods, maybe you'll find them. But I think rubberduckyisopods.com might be Brian's website, and you can go there and buy isopods. You can go there and buy the food for the plants and shit. I think you can, but he would definitely have to sort you out. Yeah, Mad Dog in the chat said Eco Thrive charges insect frass. Yeah, so there's lots of other ways to do it. I mean, I'm assuming by what you said there. Oh no, yeah, how to separate the isopods from the frass. I assume you have isopods, so you want to try and figure out how to get the shit out of it. I don't know, man. How many do you have? How many isopods do you have to have for them to produce enough shit to make it beneficial? I ask you guys that question. Let me know in the chat.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, those guys out there in chat, we're not going to know about that. We're just simple growers. Keep it nice and simple. Billy, you're an organic grower. Do you not use insect frass in any way?
Yeah, I use some in some, but I just throw it in water, leave it sitting there for 24 hours, and then pour that water onto my plants.
Okay. Yeah, and that's it. People would like top dress it and water it in as well if you wanted to do that. Yeah, that's the best way to use it.
Yeah, some sort of sieve, I suppose, to filter it out, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, at that point,
buying it separately, ain't you?
Yeah, I know people love organic growing and shit, but when you're actually there sieving shit to feed your plants, I think I'll draw the line there. I don't really fancy doing that.
I've done it to make
pass me that bottle of PK, please.
That's why it gets thrown in the water and then watered in. Simple.
Yeah, man. So I hope that answers the question as much as possible anyway. But of course, ask over on Percy if you want to know any more about that. Oh, Adam Bomb saying in the chat there, says 25 dairy cows a year ago. Cool. Must have a couple of hundred now. Nice, man. Nice. Got them after the Marco interview. I like it. That's cool as fuck.
Cool shit.
Yeah. So you should definitely ask Brian. Head over to Instagram. Or ask Marco as well. They're both going to know which way is the best way to do it. We just don't have all the answers, and we don't want to try and make things up to give you an answer that's incorrect when you can just go to a good source like Brian and Marco, and they'll be able to tell you exactly what to do. Yeah, it's good shit. The actual shit. I think that's everything, right? Is there anything more to add here? That's all the questions. Did we have one in chat?
Yeah, I've got a question, quick one.
Oh no. You did this last week. What's it going to be, Billy? Let's go.
No, actually, it's not true, because I see something on the internet where you can get your body composted.
Okay.
Oh, I've heard that too.
Yeah. So my question is, would you do that? Would you get your body composted? Because that's one way of dying and getting that done. Then you could become a plant. I was thinking about that, getting a plant grown, and then I could turn myself into hash.
I really don't care. It's
that's what I said also. Yeah, it's like, but I'm dead. Who gives a fuck? I might not even have a will. Like, let them do that shit.
I was thinking I'd want to get cremated anyway. So what's the difference?
Yeah, that's different. So if he's going to get cremated, it's just an option out there that you could possibly compost yourself and become a plant.
Yeah, man. I think
It's
that
up
would
to
be
you
the
what sort
better
of
way.
plant. Yeah,
Cremation is. I just find it incredibly wasteful. I mean,
yeah.
Do you?
So
you know, we should be fed to the animals that would enjoy a meal or something. I don't know. You know, it just
yeah, like just
seems like a
lobbed in the
waste.
side in the bushes, so
Yeah,
all the insects can eat you and shit.
and I'm not using it anymore. You can have it.
You know
Yeah,
who talked about that is Neil deGrasse Tyson talked about that being an ideal way to go because then your body is also, like
Ugh,
feeding the rest of the plants out
changed
there.
my mind now. Fuck yeah.
yeah.
You don't like that
Fucking
guy?
no, he drives me fucking crazy. That guy. It's man. I love science and shit. I'm sure many people will realize that. Like space stuff, I love space stuff, and I can talk about space stuff for fucking ages. But he just rubs him up the wrong way, man. I love Carl Sagan. I think Carl Sagan is an absolute fucking legend, and the way
He is a legend,
he
yeah.
put fucking the science across to people, made things so easily understandable, and he was so humble with it at the same time. But when I'm watching Neil deGrasse Tyson, I just get the impression of it's like, look at me, look how smart I am, look what I know. It's like, mate, calm the fuck down, you know. And when he did Cosmos, and he's just like, no, man, it just gives me it's not the right vibes, not the right vibes. Carl Sagan was a
Well, he
legend.
talked about it. He talked
Yeah,
about composting your body.
yeah. And I don't hate him that much, really. It's just I avoid any contact with him.
Right.
You know? But yeah, it's a good idea. I think it's natural, isn't it? It's nature. And whether I want to
Yeah.
be compost or not, I don't know. I think animals would be able to just eat you, and maybe I'll just become an actual piece of shit like my ex thinks.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, fuck that. Yeah, that's what I want to be now. Maybe get an
Yeah.
animal to eat me, collect the shit, and just go around throwing it at people. All right, that's gonna
A
be my
fox.
funeral.
Because fox shit's really stinking
I
horrible.
know, yeah, fucking
Yeah.
hell. Anybody with a dog knows that, don't they? Yeah, got that. What
That's
is
the
it? The
last thing
dogs
you want to
rolling
roll
fuck
in.
shit. You know what I
In
mean?
it. Slap the cunt, mate. Tell ya.
Right, so
Just
there we
don't let it
go.
go.
I think that's all of the questions. Yeah, more entertaining than scientist, I would agree. Sagan was a scientist who educated via the media, who was never entertaining for the sake of it. You know what I'm saying? I think that nails it hits the nail on the head right there. Yeah. Carl Sagan was a legend and a everyday cannabis smoker as well. How fucking cool is that? But yeah, with all of that, I think that's all the questions answered. And if you have any, you know what to do. Head over to percysgrowroom.com or the Discord server. You know where to find the link to that by now. I'll go on about it every week. Let's go into the outro. You ready?
I
Yeah,
am.
Let's do it. Yes, I'm looking for recommendations on mouses, everybody, because this one's got to go. Gosh. Ah. We've been through a lot together, me and this mouse. We've made a lot of content. Damn. I have got another mouse, but this mouse, it's got a little thing in the middle that I can click that increases the sensitivity. So, and it's real fast. The mouse is real fast, man. So I only have to use little hand movements to just move it everywhere. But I've got another one, but it don't have that function. And if I plug it in and use it, it's like, god damn, right? It takes ages to get to the other side of the screen. I don't like playing that game. Yeah, lead sail USB, Razer Viper 2. I don't know anything with the name Razer in, but spout like that is usually very expensive. Razer and Viper both sound like very expensive words. You know, you know what I mean?
And it's got a letter and a number of V2, and it's a Pro. Fucking hell.
Wow,
Oh,
that
God.
sounds
Yeah.
expensive. If there's
Yeah,
anything
innit?
I've ever
Yeah.
heard that sounds expensive, it's a Razer Viper V2 Pro. Fuck.
Yeah, are we talking about a mouse?
For a mouse, yeah. It's fully aerodynamic for zero
Yeah.
drag. It's like it's a fucking mouse.
Ergonomic.
Oh shit! I remember the days. Remember the days when the mouse had an actual ball in the middle of it that looked like a hard-boiled egg. Remember that?
Oh, fuck,
Comfort
yes, I do.
pads for your balls.
Damn!
Innit?
I remember using computers at school that had the tracker ball built in.
Wow!
I'm
Fucking
really
hell.
aging myself.
Man, yeah, I'm getting flashbacks now. You're saying that trackable and shit. Damn!
Yeah.
Playing with a mouse's ball.
Wow. Let's not get into that discussion. We'll
That's
get fucking
experimentation, isn't it?
anxious. Gosh, man. Again, how the world has changed in such a short amount of time is absolutely fucking
So I
crazy.
mean, and like in the next
Mm.
25 years, it's going to be even more extensively changed because AI is just hitting town.
Maybe.
And you thought the ZX Spectrum was cool as a kid.
Oh, is Call still got one?
That's what I mean.
You know what I'm saying?
We've got Tesla robots coming now. And now we've got 25 years on top of that.
Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, the Tesla robot is the Spectrum, ZX Spectrum of our youth.
You think so? Man, imagine
Yeah,
that
man.
shit. Imagine
No, it is,
if
though.
our kids,
It's the early
or at
technology.
least their kids, would see the Tesla fucking robot as just weak ass old technology.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
God.
Yeah.
It'd be like, okay, boomer, we're
Exactamundo.
talking about the robot.
You still got one of them.
Wow.
You still got like the original Tesla. Oh, shit, mate. I've got a Tesla 420.
Like that meme anyway. Back in our day, used to drive our cars ourselves. It's like, yeah, whatever, Grandma, get back in the home now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Tesla taxi and the bus, mate, and the robot. We're living that. It's starting now. 25 years on from now, they'll be flying, hovering and shit.
Jesus, we can chat some shit, man. We go off on some tangents sometimes, don't we? Damn. But yeah, good session. Thanks everybody for joining us. Of course, don't forget to hit the like button if you haven't done that. Share if you can, and all of that. But you know, I know that it's not easy for some people to share the show. Daylight savings happened and all that. I'm sure you realise by now that the show was earlier than usual if you're not in the UK by an hour. Yeah, so that's happened. So join us on. Yeah, it's Thursday, isn't it? Halloween is
Thursday. Yeah, it's this Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah, come and join us for a special live stream for Halloween. Make sure you wear some Halloweeny stuff or something. We can't see you, but you know, it'd still be cool to do that. Let's try and get in a Halloweeny vibe. Yeah, we'll give away some prizes and stuff. All
So
right.
dress up, tell us what you're wearing and all that.
Kinky. Yeah, man. So it's been a pleasure, everybody. We'll see you on the next one. Anything else to add?
No.
Have a good week.
Yeah. Anything on your side, Margaret?
Make
With the bite me?
hash.
No, not really. Just listen. Just listen to the
Yeah,
show. Share it
that's
with your
right.
friend.
Yeah, share it. That's the important thing. Being cannabis content isn't easy. The
No,
algorithms
it's
don't
not.
like us very much. So, you know, share the podcast if you can. That's the best way to help the shows grow, both High on Homegrown and Bite Me the Show about edibles. Yes, do that. That's appreciated. But again, no pressure. We just appreciate you being here. Hope you enjoyed the show, everybody. And we'll catch you on Thursday for the Halloween special. Let's do it. The Tree House of Horror 4 or something. See you on the next one, everybody.
420.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Wave.
Bye.
Waving and shit. Waving shit.
Say hi.
Oh, double clicks being a dickhead. We can't mute because the double clicks being a dickhead.
Double dickhead.
Did you see that, everybody? That was my double click. That was my double. I'm just trying to close windows and stuff, and I accidentally double clicked because of this dodgy mouse, and it put it on the Grow Guide. The Grow Guide starts playing, and then now the 15-minute music thing has been reset. So I'm just going to end the stream now. God damn, good. The professionalism, as always. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm just going to end the stream now because the music ain't going to play. Is going to play from the start of the 15-minute thing, and you don't want to listen to all that. Catch you on the next one, everybody. Catch you Thursday. Don't forget. Have a good night.